Boopcast.
Hey, okay, wow. New intro, apparently.
Morning. It's the
Hi,
Boopcast,
guys.
episode 56, and we are your host, SheNoob, and... Oh,
Cory,
fuck,
are
it's
you that
turned
way?
around. I'm the wrong way.
No, you're that way.
Because it's
You must be that way.
Discord, and it sits the wrong way. Hold on 1 second while I fix it. Okay, hold on. Whoa, where did I go?
Oh, my goodness. What have you done?
This is wonderful. Don't mind me. Just hold on 1 second while I
She's
fix
broken everything.
Hold on. I was trying to flip it horizontally and then it disappeared altogether off the face of the earth. And just was like showing OBS instead of Discord. So that's...
We were even talking beforehand about how, like, is this the first time we've been on time and, like, no technical difficulties and, like, everything's good?
That on Discord it's the wrong way around, because on Skype it's the right way around, because it's my webcam, not actually the program.
I mean, well, you looked fine to me before and the flag was in the right place, so I don't know why when you window captured it was different, because it's been fine for me the entire time.
It's backwards for you, boy.
Is mine backwards?
All of that shit up there is backwards.
But no, it's not, because the window's still on the right for me.
This text up here is all backwards. Is it not?
No, it's not.
It's backwards on my screen. It's fucking backwards, and that's why it shows up backwards on the thing. Oh my god.
Oh wait, no, it's because I just noticed that for me my camera's backwards too.
Well, as long as you can see me the right way around, I don't really care. Okay. Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Boopcast, episode 56. 65? I hope not. I nearly said 65. Technical difficulties, exactly. Exactly.
Oh, man. Yeah, no, Boopcast tradition definitely is. Definitely is.
It's so annoying that we switched from Discord to Skype every other week this year, because I'm like, what's the setup? I don't even know anymore.
I mean, at least with having Discord, I can actually see you while we do these.
This is why I prefer to use Discord, and why we will use Discord next volume. Everyone can get screwed and get Discord. You're both
Most people, when we ask them to be guests, they're like, wow, I haven't opened Skype up in years.
Yeah, because literally they open it once a year, and it's to be on the podcast. And we talk to people once a year. I mean, this is the thing, though. It's a very interesting friendship and working relationship when your entire interactions are on social media in the public eye, and you literally see each other once a year to talk about an episode. Discord worked pretty well last time. Discord always works really well, especially because everyone else can see me on Discord, which is always nice. But yeah, for me, my camera is mirrored. But
yeah, mine is
for you,
as well.
You're seeing me the correct way around. I'm seeing myself the wrong way around. So it shows up the wrong way around on here because I window capture it, and I forget to flip it every single time. Love that. We could say you are backwards compatible. Get out. And that's all I have to say. No, it's not all I have to say. So, normally, the format that we work with Ruby is that we do the finale with just us, because usually the finale is longer. We have a lot to say and talk about for the entire volume. We're not doing that this year because after this chapter happened and the amount of hashtag feelings we both have about certain events, we can't have Alex on this week to sit there and listen to us rant about how much we despise a particular event.
Yeah.
Especially me. Y'all know I have some words to say. So we were like, we're not going to make Alex sit through that, because this is going to be a 6-hour long podcast if he's on there.
Yeah, I mean, it would have been.
That. So he's going to be on next week for the finale. Also, the finale may be on Sunday next week, because I forgot that I have a Pride Parade on Saturday at 12. And we have Alex on, so we're not going to finish at 12.
Hey.
So I will sort that out with him. Should be fine. But yeah, also, if we have it on Sunday, it gives everyone who is not a first member a chance to join us for the live stream, because they will have seen chapter 13 by then.
yeah, this is also like there have been 2 episodes this volume where we could do the Boopcast later without worrying about spoilers.
And it's
And
this
the
one.
finale will be one of them.
The finale will be one of them, exactly. So that may be on Sunday next week, most likely. um, but aside from that, I think that's all of the house cleaning out of the way. Housekeeping, whatever. I don't know. It's early. Shut up, Cory. Speak.
I haven't actually talked to you about this, but I was gonna propose if we did another one of those bootcasts we did last year with where we like kind of a after the finale one where we play Grim Eclipse and stuff.
Yeah, we definitely
especially because it might.
Yeah.
You know, having Alex on for the finale, it's gonna be a super duper long podcast, so we might want to do just a separate one to make sure we got all of our thoughts out. Plus, also, that was really fun last time.
Tyson is still in the chat, and he'd be down for it. I'd like to have Larissa and Tyson on for another Grim Eclipse wrap-up. Because I really liked the one we did last year, where we played Grim Eclipse and talked about Volume 6. I can speak, I know words. But yeah, it'd be cool to have you and Larissa on for that, if you guys are up for it. So yeah, we'll probably do that. But that's like 2 weeks away, so... I am here. Yeah, would you like to play Grim Eclipse to talk about Volume 7? Yes, okay. Yes. Do I have to ask? So yeah, we'll have to do it at probably early, so it's a reasonable time for you as well. Oh yeah. But that's fine. We can do that. So that'll be fun, because we did that last volume. Everyone seemed to like it, even though it came out a year
early
late.
For you and Larissa, or early for me?
Early for us.
Because last time we did the podcast with them, I got up early, so I was like, oh, am I getting up early for this one?
No, I mean, he's here now. Clearly he's up.
Sure.
It is a weekend, which helps. Yeah, so... I'm stalling.
You are stalling.
I do want to talk about the episode, and I don't at the same time.
Yeah.
Because I know the opinions that I have are going to be polarizing. Not that I care what people think of my opinions, but more that I don't want to start arguments, cause drama in the comments, in the chat, anything like that. Let me just preface everything I'm about to say by saying, don't attack members of the crewbie.
I was really going to say.
Don't be toxic. Don't be spiteful. You have a right to be angry. You have a right to be upset. You have a right to be put out.
We are.
We're angry, upset, and put out. We both felt betrayed when we saw the episode. That like there was wasted potential, definitely queer baiting, but it doesn't help anybody to point fingers. People in the crewbie who feel like they had some responsibility for the queer baiting have apologized, which is, great. They're only human. But don't target hatred towards members of the crewbie, especially when they bust their asses making this show for us every year. And the phenomenal work they've done with Volume 7. We can't ignore 95% of this episode, which was incredible. So, just don't do that. Don't be a dick. Express also, your anger in a more healthy way, please.
Yeah. Plus, also, if people are sitting here screaming at them for calling them, homophobic or blah, 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 and, being nasty to them, that doesn't really make them want to cater to those people.
No, and it's also just
so if we truly want to see, true. But, if we want them to learn from this and be better, we have to be kind to them, because who wants to be nice to the person who's being an awful shithead to them?
Exactly. Yeah. There are much better ways to get our point across than by targeting hatred and attacking them and making them feel like it's all their fault, which they probably... I don't know the crewbie personally. I don't know what the thought process was behind all of this. I don't think that they really fully realized the consequences of not the actions within the show, but the actions outside of the show, particularly with the Ruby official Twitter tweeting the things that it was. The people who handle that Twitter probably weren't aware of the show's events, and I know that after Chapter 12 went up, many of their tweets were removed, which is
Mm-hmm.
telling in and of itself that they weren't aware of the events. Probably
Yeah.
should have been made aware,
Mm-hmm.
but then that also has the potential for them to foreshadow things in their tweets that they're not really permitted to. So I can see both sides of, why it's happened the way it has. Cal's review, Dan's review, Thomas hasn't done a review yet, but he's going to. They are all very insightful people. Oh God, is my thing lagging? Please don't.
Yeah. Yeah, I didn't know if it was me or you that was happening
it's me.
too.
It's
I
just
think
my
it's
stupid
you.
computer. We'll just deal with that, and hopefully it doesn't get too horrendous, because I might have to just... Sorry, it's my computer. It's being a butt right now, because the hard drive's plugged in. So
Yeah,
we'll just deal with that.
She's having technical difficulties.
I am having technical difficulties pretty majorly this weekend with my computer.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, there we go. It went good.
Yeah, I was gonna mention that Dodge that is it Calcian? Calixon?
Yeah.
I think it's
Calcian.
Is it? I thought no, Calaxin, that's it. Calaxin, her
It is not
and
Calaxin.
that kind it is.
No.
Yeah, it definitely is.
I refuse
her
to
and
believe.
Dan have put out very insightful, well thought out videos about this topic, and I know that also Unicorn of War is working on one as well. That I'm sure will be well thought out and very good. So I highly recommend people searching those videos out to see stuff about, like, Cal talked about how like the marketing and stuff like that, and how in their role that played in Lucky Charms, and Dan just talked about how they handled the situation, which was
Poorly. Really.
Poorly. But like
but
we also do need to, like, I mean, we'll get there eventually, but I feel like we do, like, kind of need to have a discussion about intention and how this probably was actually never Rooster Teeth's intention, and they just kind of, things got jumbled up and stuff happened that they didn't foresee, and then badness.
Yeah, I mean, I can't really excuse it away with intention, because they know the fandom, they know that the LGBT audience has been starved for male representation, and they had to see that the fandom would take this and run with it, and for members of Kruby to tease things, tweet things, for the official Twitter to tweet things, for them to, there's no other way to say it than queerbait us throughout the duration of the volume, knowing how this was going to end, was just poor form. And they're people, they make mistakes, that's fine, but like, this was a pretty major mistake on their part that needs to be discussed and talked about, so that we don't have a repeat of this in the future. Because
we'll get there.
We'll get there. It was very, very polarizing for the fandom. There was a lot of fighting going on, a lot of infighting in the LGBT community within the fandom as well, which I don't understand the attitudes of some people towards it. I feel like some people like to live in their little bubble and pretend that there's nothing wrong with anything that they're seeing, and not actually use their brain and look at it in a logical manner, or an objective manner, or a subjective manner. Not in any manner at all. Just watching it. Divide intensifies. Yeah, this is the problem. It's been very divisive in the fandom. The fandom, I haven't been on my main Twitter all week because it's just full of toxicity. And I'm like, and I got involved right after the chapter. So I didn't. I tweeted my thoughts about the chapter right after it aired, and people went onto that tweet and put their 2 cents in. Don't recall asking for their opinions, but and it's really important that we're not dismissive for how people feel and actually listen. That's the thing.
Exactly.
I felt like when I was tweeting about it, how I felt about it, people were mostly straight people, just going to throw that out
Mm-hmm.
there, were coming
Yeah.
onto my tweets and being dismissive, rude, disrespectful towards
Mm-hmm.
the feelings of myself and many others who feel the same way. And especially the
Mm-hmm.
people close to me, which I will never tolerate. If you come at me, at my friends, at my girlfriend, I will destroy you and I will not apologize for it. I don't care who you are, you could be the fucking queen, you could be President Trump. I will destroy you. So don't come at my friends. I have there is no limit of how I will defend them on social media. So, um, but yeah, it was very toxic. And there is a certain
Mm-hmm.
demographic of people who were dismissing our feelings
Mm-hmm.
towards it,
Yeah.
which
I
I
know
think is
one.
just comes from ignorance,
Yeah.
really, at the end
And
of the day.
I know one comment that I saw you get that I know was a big thing people talked about was that like um I don't know, I guess just that I guess it kind of goes back to intentions with that it was never Rooster Teeth's intention and we were reading too much into it or making something out of nothing. I saw
Mm.
that comment a lot too, and that was especially frustrating because and I wrote a huge ass thing on my Discord about this
Yeah.
that but it's when people would say that like fair game, Lucky Charms, whatever you want to call it, when people would say that the fandom was making something out of nothing, I'm like, then why were so many people seeing it?
Yeah.
Like,
This
this
is the
isn't
thing.
just like some weird crack ship where people ship Weiss and Neo. You
And
know, like.
yeah, this is the thing. It wasn't purely subtext either, because like the
Mm-hmm.
Kruby were tweeting things they probably shouldn't have been tweeting. Some of them were making art they probably shouldn't have been making. Promoting the ship, promoting the LGBT connotations behind the ship and the characters themselves. And I'm like, you knew how this was going to end. You probably just shouldn't have done that. Like I
Yeah.
understand they're creative people. They want to make art about
Mm-hmm.
the things within the show that they're making that they feel passionate about. But they should have been more careful about how
Yeah.
they promoted this on social media, because
Mm-hmm.
especially
Especially
if it
because
had,
they knew how it would end.
yeah, because they knew how it was going to end,
Mm-hmm.
and how, like, a lot of them talked about how, you know, um, violent it was going to be before the episode actually aired, or at least they hinted at it anyway.
Mm-hmm.
um, and I'm like, if they knew that this was going to end this way, they should not have been talking about it on social media, the ship that is.
Yeah.
And they should not
Yeah.
have been essentially gaslighting without even
I
being
mean,
aware of
but
it.
I also don't want to like discourage because a lot of the Kruby are fans of Ruby and
Yeah, that's
like
the thing. It's a bit of a
they
double
should
edged
they should be
sword.
allowed to make fan art as fans and they should be allowed to write fan fiction
Oh,
as fans.
absolutely, they should.
Just because they also work on the show doesn't mean that like they're somehow infallible or like all this stuff. So like that's why that one I know that when people are pointing to that one artist in particular who like apologized up and down about it.
Mm.
um and like I don't want to like feel like we're calling that person out and saying you shouldn't have done this. And I mean, maybe they shouldn't have, like, even they've admitted that maybe they shouldn't have, but they wanted to.
Yeah,
And so
I get
like.
that, but I'm like, absolutely, they should be allowed to make fan art, make fan fiction, whatever it is that they want to
Mm-hmm.
do creatively to express their love for the show that they've worked on for years.
Mm-hmm.
But in this case, it only served to fuel a very already aggravated fire when it comes to the events that were shown on screen. So, in regards to this particular thing, I'm like, this should have been avoided on social media by
Mm-hmm.
members of the
Well.
Kruby, because they all knew
Mm-hmm.
how it was going to end.
Yeah, that's one thing Cal brought up in her video is she said that like m- you know Rooster Teeth might need to get people, they need to get better PR departments kind of a thing. And like maybe these people need to have separate accounts that are like officially non-licensed Ruby accounts, like everything. But granted, most of them do that on their personal accounts anywhere, where they say the opinions expressed here do not reflect on Rooster Teeth and blah blah blah.
Mm.
So like You know, that's why it's so difficult because it's like these are people and they're not trying to represent a company.
Yeah.
And people still took it as them representing a company, which,
Which, I mean, it's difficult not to do
it's
because
difficult.
they're
It's
in the
really
know.
difficult.
So we
Yeah.
know that they're in the know. So we kind of take everything they say on social media as gospel, even if that's not the case. We just do it inadvertently because we're like, well, they work on the
Well,
show and clearly they're hinting at something here. But
well, Cal brought up that it's because they've confirmed stuff on Twitter before, like
they have.
May being trans was confirmed on Twitter. Crow not being Ruby's father was confirmed on Twitter.
I mean,
Like I mean, yeah,
let's not
but
even
like
talk about that
they've
theory.
done things like that before, so like it is sometimes hard when they do things that way that people don't then read more into every single tweet that they make to be like, oh look, like God, I keep talking about this Cal video. It was really good, okay? But like the trans Nora theory got a lot of traction before the volume because her color scheme was the trans flag colors, and people were like, "Oh my God, is Nora trans?" Because there's also all the stuff about Nora backstory, and then some of the animators or something liked one of these tweets, and people were like, "Oh my God!" And it's like, no, these people are just acknowledging stuff or being like, "Oh, that's interesting," and they're allowed to like be a part of the fandom without constantly confirming things, like,
and
so yeah,
that's the thing,
it's
though.
difficult.
Things like the trans Nora theory, I'm like, we saw her as a small child in Volume 4. We know that she was at least female presenting then. So, and she was like 7, 8, 9 at the most. Probably not even that old. 6, 7, 8.
Yeah.
So I'm like, it's a nice theory, but it doesn't really have any legs to stand on, other than her color scheme. Which, I mean, she's always had this color scheme. It just has never presented the way that it has before. It's evolved over
just like
time.
so many people, I saw people talking about like with Weiss incorporating more red back into her thing, and people being like, white rose, and I'm like, Weiss has always had red in her color scheme.
She's always had red lining in her clothes, always, since the beginning, except for her Volume 4 to 6 outfit. There was no red on that outfit. But I think
that's why they brought it back so strongly.
Yeah, that was symbolic of her being separated from her team. Her color scheme going back to completely blue and white, silver tones. And now that she's back with them again, there's more of those other colors, mainly red, coming back into it.
Plus, also, we now know that like red was also kind of Nicholas Schnee's color a bit. I mean, because he was Santa Schnee. Like, he's got to have red.
Anyway, that's enough of a preface to a thing that we're going to talk about a lot more at the end.
Yeah.
So, the rest of this episode was phenomenal. Easily one of the best episodes of the entire show. Easily the best action we've seen in the show in a very long time.
I mean, that fight with the Watts fight last episode was...
Oh, apart from that, obviously, one of the best fights of the entire show. But, like, how much action was presented in this episode, it was a lot. It was mostly action, which was really good to see because we haven't had loads of action this volume. It's been a lot of really well thought out dialogue scenes, which have been dynamic and very interesting to watch. So they have foregone a lot of the action, which was smart of them to save that for this end of the volume, because the less that they have, the better quality it's going to be. The choreography was incredible, and I really like Team Ruby versus the Aesops because it's team fighting, but it's also individual fighting as well. So each member of Team Ruby is getting to show their strengths together as well as on their own. How much they've learned and grown, especially this volume. And just the entire atmosphere of the stakes of the fight as well. There was a lot of stakes involved in this. Like, it was one of those episodes where I was watching it and I was so stressed out the whole time. Like, I think at one point during Crow, Tyrion, Clover fighting, I was sitting there going, this is incredible, but I'm too stressed to speak. Like, I was literally like, I'm so stressed out, like, who's gonna die? It was one of those episodes where you're watching it going, my god, something terrible is going to happen at some stage. And just waiting for it. Wasn't quite expecting that, but one of the animators actually said that some of Crow's scythe animations was inspired by the Red Trailer. Yeah, I did. It felt very Red Trailer, especially with the snow and like.
Yeah.
It felt really reminiscent of the Red Trailer, which was really nice. Also, this chapter basically gave me flashbacks to Volume 3, Chapter 11 the entire time. Heroes and Monsters, because it was like Heroes and Monsters was like the Paladin fight and Ruby versus Neo and Roman, and then also Yang, Adam, and Blake. And this was a similar sort of thing where it was like Ruby versus the Aesops, but then Crow, Clover, and Tyrion as well at the same time, and briefly Robin, who was useless once again. It's pissing me off with Robin because they're not giving her anything to work with as a character. She's not being able to show that she's actually a capable huntress because she keeps getting knocked out in the first 5 seconds. It's really irritating me at this point.
I have hope for more of that next volume, though, because I have, based on where I feel, because, like, again, we only have one episode left after this. Like, it's ending on a cliffhanger. They physically cannot wrap this up.
No, there's
in
no way.
one episode.
Unless
they
minutes,
did it for 45 minutes long.
They can't. Unless it's the length of 2 episodes, they cannot wrap this up in, 20 whatever minutes.
But, like, I have my theories that Robin will be more important to the next volume, and if that's the case, we could maybe actually finally get a chance to see her, like, really see the hero of Mantle. I mean, the hometown hero of Mantle.
Yeah.
Not,
we saw her
Penny.
briefly in action against Blake and Yang earlier in the volume, but every time since then that she's been in a fight, she has been the knockout in the first 5 seconds, or when it was Crow and Clover versus Tyrion, she was staying there firing crossbow bolts the whole time. And I'm like, can you do anything, please? Like, this time she just got knocked out, and it's like, oh, look at that, the girl's wounded. And I'm like, ugh, this is such an anime trope. I hate this. Ugh. Especially in a show full of really strong female fighters. For her to just be like, oh, let's just knock her out so we don't have to deal with her. I'm like, really? Can you not?
Yeah.
I'd really like to actually see her in action at some point.
Yeah, and there doesn't seem to be, like, any logical reason for why. Like, I would have bought it more if, like, when Clover jumped out of the ship, if, like, right before the ship crashed, we saw, like, Robin trying to get out of the ship as well and, like, falling out of it right before impact. Like, then I could have potentially bought, like, her being injured. But, like, Crow was in the cockpit when it hit face first into the ground. And Robin was at the back of the ship near where kind of Clover was. So it's like, why was Crow okay, but not Robin?
Yeah, it's annoying.
So, like,
it's annoying to me.
It was one of those things where it was like, and I kind of feel like this happened a lot this episode, which, is that, like, convenience for the sake of the plot seemed to happen kind of a lot this episode, and it's like, ooh, I don't always like when things just conveniently happen the way they need to happen. Like, give me reasons.
It's not realistic as far as, like, plot is concerned. And we can look at something like that and go, well, you just didn't want her in this fight, so you had to get rid of her. Like, obviously. If Crow turned into a bird and escaped. Yeah, that power he has apparently forgotten that he has. But again, I can understand him not wanting to use it in front of other people. Because they're not aware of it and will probably freak them the fuck out. But that's not a normal thing to be able to do. But
caca, bitch.
Yeah, caca. Just head first into Clover. Ow. Sorry, I just kicked my computer. Don't fucking blue screen it again. Jesus Christ, I'm gonna move back from it. What was I gonna say? As soon as Robin charged Clover, he, like, bitch slapped her out of the way immediately, and I was like, really?
I don't know. I kind of like that because, or at least finally get to see. We've been talking all volume about how fucking useless Clover's weapon is, and this finally felt like it was like I realized it's like, oh, his weapon's not good for Grimm. He's good for like human targets because like he was fucking both of them up, and it was like, oh, his weapon is about like keeping things under control and like maintain like keeping people under control, not really like Grimm.
I will say his weapon extremely useful against Tyrion.
Yeah,
because like keep that tail contained. But yeah, that weapon just man. I mean, he wasn't long for this world with a weapon that useless, but like seriously.
They managed to make it kind of cool this episode though, and I liked that.
The wasted potential of his weapon will never cease to annoy me, just like his character. But you know, let's get off that subject quickly. How did the episode start? Oh, we started in the airship with them. Never mind, we're in the right spot.
Yeah, we were in there.
Fucking Tyrion's peanut gallery commentary the whole way through their argument. I was like, I kind of love you. Like, I kind of love Tyrion, even though he's a piece of shit turd bastard. And I love to hate him. I'm like, you are my favorite villain, and this is why. Josh Grelle was made to play this character. I gotta hand it to Tyrion. He's a competent villain. This is the thing. A lot of things annoyed me about the final fight regarding the intelligence of the characters involved. And one of them was that Crow wasn't keeping an eye on Tyrion. I'm like, dude, the last time you fought this guy, he almost killed you. Like, he poisoned you because he snuck up on you out of nowhere when you were distracted. That's how Tyrion works. He's sneaky little shit, and you need to keep both eyes on him at all times. And he wasn't. And I was like, Tyrion! Like, it was, oh my god. I don't have the words to describe my frustration at all of that. It could have been so easily avoided. But again, it just feels like convenience for the sake of the plot, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Because it was such a well-done fight, but it just didn't make any narrative sense for the characters.
There were just... I mean, we'll get into it later, but I definitely sometimes use... I told you I don't like using this term, but I feel like this is the first time I felt that it was necessary. But, like, there were characters in this episode that definitely kind of felt stupid for the sake of the plot.
Yeah.
And that I hate using that because it's a term the hate-dom uses to discount stuff.
That's the thing, though.
But, like...
The hate-dom is wrong 100% of the time. Sorry, we don't listen to them. But, like, there's been maybe one other instance in RWBY where I felt like this is dumb and it's just because you need to get to this point in the plot and you haven't worked out how to get there, so this is what you've come up with. And I think it was in Volume 5. Probably.
Yeah, probably Volume 5.
Probably Volume 5.
The one I'm thinking of in Volume 5.
Yeah, it was probably towards the end of Volume 5. I just shut all of that out. But anyway, there's been maybe one other instance where I felt like that. And this definitely felt like, when I was watching it, I was like, what are you doing? Like, that was just my sort of whole mindset during that bit. I was like, how do you think that this is possibly going to go your way? Are you using a single brain cell that I know that you have because I've seen you use it before? Are you thinking about this in any way, shape, or form? No? Cool. All right. And it's just like, you know, it's like everybody involved forgot everything that had happened in the show up until that point, except for Tyrion. When I say everybody, I mean Chloe and Clover. Wow. Crow and Clover were being so incredibly stupid just because these certain things needed to happen. And I was like, oof.
I don't know. I mean, we'll get there eventually, but I can justify some of Crow's, but Clover...
I can justify Crow to a point, but yeah, not Clover. Unfortunately. But yeah, we'll talk more about it at the end. We keep going back to this because it's the main crux of the problem in this chapter. Everything else was phenomenal. The end. All right, let's talk about this.
What about Tyrion in that hat, though? Like, that was funny.
In the hat?
In his hat.
Tyrion had a hat?
After he broke free and he started sending the thing
Oh!
down, he put on the guy's hat and it was so
put
funny.
on the captain's hat. That was hilarious. Oh my god, I love Tyrion so much, but he's a cunt. I hate him.
I know.
I'm so conflicted about his character.
He's fun and I hate him. Like, that's how I feel about him.
He's a fabulous villain and he's so cunning and just bloodthirsty and fucking nuts. And I absolutely love him.
He's
but
chaotic
also,
evil,
like,
and that's so fun to watch.
He kills people, and that's not okay at the same time. Like, I didn't care about anyone he'd killed until this chapter.
Also, he survived yet another fucking airship crash. I mean, granted, Salem wasn't there this time, but still, it was like, oh my god, this guy... He's got an MO now, where it's like, okay, we can't take him to jail in airships. We need to, I don't know, drag him there.
I know, they keep arresting these dangerous criminals that they know work for Salem. I'm like, kill them. Please, just cut off his head. For God's sake, just kill them. And I'm like, we have a moral high ground. We don't kill people, we arrest them. I'm like, this is what happens when you arrest them. Fucking just end their lives. It would save so much stress and so much other death if you just nip it in the bud while you've got it. Like, literally, he's unconscious on the floor. Chop off his head. Done. Dealt with. But no, we wouldn't have a story if we did that. Need to find a certain tweet.
I mean, that's why I hope that that's kind of why I hope Watts is dead, because I'm like, that'd be interesting.
Okay, I'm stressed about Watts because they've deliberately left that ambiguous.
Yeah.
And my brain is going a million miles a minute going, what has happened to Watts? Is he dead? Why would Ironwood leave him alive? Like, but why? Why did any of this occur the way that it did? And it's driving me crazy, and I know they've done that on purpose, so I try not to think about it. So, I just realized it's the 1st of February and my calendar's still in January. Don't mind me.
No. It's the 31st here, so it's fine.
So, where were we? Oh, yeah.
I mean, do we have anything else we want to say about the before the ship crash?
Okay,
that's basically...
yes. So, Clover, in this scene, this entire chapter, really dumb. Here's why. There's no character trope I despise more in any fiction ever than the blind, submissive dog. It drives me crazy how any individual can blindly follow orders even when they know it's wrong. And I'm like, why? When he gets up after he gets that alert on his phone, and he immediately gets up and he's like, Crow, I have to arrest you. I'm like, you are so frustrating. Like, think for yourself for once in your life, please. Oh my gosh. And so annoying.
And I liked Crow in this part of the scene too, because like, I mean, Robin immediately is like, no, get fucked. And she's like ready to, throw
Understandably.
down. Understandably. Also, why is it not out for her arrest? I'm confused.
I'm also confused.
I'm like, wait, but he would know that Robin would, like, get in the way of this, too.
I know, so, right? Like... Arrest Team Ruby and Crow. Oh, but Robin's fine. Like,
and Juniper.
There's no logic to that. And Junior, as well. And Oscar's on there, too. I'm like, dude, really? Really? The farm boy with Oz in his head? That's a great idea.
Yeah. The number of memes about, like, how many Atlas soldiers do you think saw that thing and went... Why does he want us to arrest a 14-year-old boy?
Exactly.
Like...
But, they just follow orders, because that's what they do, because they don't use their brains ever to think about things and the consequences of them. Because they're my orders. Fucking pisses me off. I hate it.
But yeah, it's dumb because I'm like... And Crow was right in the scene where he was like, let's just get up to Atlas and talk to James and find out what's going on. Like, if they... Especially also because they were transporting Tyrion, like... Now is not the time, like...
To have a blowout in the airship.
To have a blowout in an airship. Like, get up to Atlas, get Tyrion secured, and then... If a fight's gonna happen, a fight's gonna happen, but, like, get some more information and get the higher priority under control. Because, like, that's honestly my biggest issue with a lot of these parts of the episodes, is I'm like, Okay, but Tyrion though, like
Yeah.
serial killer guy is right
You
there. Why
know
are we
how
like, but
dangerous
my
he
best
is.
friend needs to be arrested?
This is the
Blah.
thing. They know how dangerous Tyrion is. He should have been the
Exactly.
priority in this
Mm-hmm.
instance. I 100% blame
Mm-hmm.
everything that happened after the scene on Clover. Because I'm like, you just followed your orders. You could have been so much more than what you were, but you chose to just blindly,
Mm-hmm.
submissively follow your orders. And like the line that he has at the end where he's like, I trust James with my life. I'm like, yeah, but he's a bad person.
Yeah.
Like,
That's
I
also.
trust him with my life. I'm like, you trust the wrong bitch.
Mhm. Yeah, another issue that this episode brought up for me is just how I'm like, how underdeveloped a lot of the Aesops
Mm,
feel, like even Clover,
mm.
where I'm like, but why?
Yeah.
Why do you trust
Mara's the
James
only
so
one who
much?
ever thought twice about it. And
Yeah.
like
Mm-hmm.
I was just hoping that Clover would at least use his brain for half a second, but no.
Mm-hmm.
Um
Yeah.
so
But
I
like, I
mean,
don't know. I mean, there were other things where it's like, I don't know, Elm. There were a lot of things with Elm that I was like, didn't seem to be foreshadowed at all.
mm,
Like, she kind of seems to suddenly have anger issues that we never really saw
it
before,
feels
and
like there was something missing with the Ace Hops, like a scene that we
yeah.
didn't see, like a deleted
Hmm.
scene where more of their characters were developed more.
Hmm. Yeah,
That's
like
it's
they
probably
mentioned that
not,
thing earlier
but
about like their liability.
yeah,
Like they all have liabilities, and it's like I feel like I would have this fight would have felt more better if we had learned what their liabilities were,
yeah,
because like I mean clearly it feels like okay, Elm seems to have like anger issues, or like I don't know, her Yang's comment about following orders
mm,
set her off, and like uh, Vine continues to just be there. Like I would
mm.
love to learn anything about him,
Talk about
but
wasted
yeah,
potential. Oh my god.
I mean, granted, the rest of the Aesops can still be involved in the story moving forward. Like they're just unconscious,
Mm. I mean,
you know.
talk about wasted potential with characters. Vine is up there.
Mm,
He has been nothing but boring the whole way through the
mhm.
volume, as
Yeah.
far as
We still haven't
his.
even seen him use his weapon yet. Like
I
I was
know
gonna bring
it's
this up,
been
and
on his back
Arnold
the entire
posted it.
time.
Yeah, Arnold brought this up on Twitter literally right before we went live, and I was like,
Mm.
"Damn it, Arnold! I was gonna bring this up on the podcast, but like we've never seen him use his weapon. It's right there.
Yeah,
It's right there. Why can't we see what it does?"
I know it's so frustrating to me. Um,
Hmm.
that like you know, he could have been so much more interesting, but they just didn't do anything with him.
Hmm.
Um, and yeah, the fact that he's had a weapon on his back the whole time and he's never once used it, I'm like, is he going to? Like, is this
Hmm.
the thing you're going to do in the finale or is this a next volume thing? Like,
Yeah, I think it might be a next volume
I
thing
think
because.
so because we forget that we've still got a whole nother volume in the
Hmm.
Atlas.
Yeah.
I say in quotations because I don't think Atlas is going to last the whole volume, but
Yeah.
um, so there could be more to do with the Aesops. I'm still hoping there's potential for them to come around within the next volume, especially after they learn about Clover, possibly. Although they say we're not friends, it's just a job, and I'm like, that's why you're a shit team when it comes to versing Team Ruby, and
Yeah.
like people kicked up a stink about like it's not realistic that Team Ruby beat the Aesops. I'm like, it is, and here's why. The
Hmm.
Aesops, while they work well together when it comes to fighting a like grim and fighting a
Hmm.
target, they don't
And
work
fighting
well
together,
together.
like.
They don't work well individually. They don't have each
Hmm.
other's backs. Really,
Hmm.
they say that they do, but they don't. They don't
Yeah.
care about each other, and
Hmm.
that's why they're a shit team when they're up against a team that
Hmm.
does. So
Also, this is a show where, like, it again, and this isn't even really it, but like, friendship is magic, and like,
yeah,
but like even then, it's like Blake, like with Blake and Yang, they work so well together because they have that connection and because they are friends and they've worked together so much and they like they knew exactly what to do in that situation. Whereas like
Mm.
Elm and Vine, even though they were still kind of partnered up in that fight, they weren't really working together
I'm
at
sorry,
all.
why is that timer on? Let me get rid of that real quick.
That
What
is
the
weird.
fuck? It was still checked. How long have I had that on for? I've streamed since the 24-hour stream. Okay. Anyway,
But
yeah.
yeah, I don't know, like, and again, and it's different because like even if you look at the Ruby and Harriet fight, which was largely away from everybody else and didn't have anything to do with all the others, like Harriet and Ruby were really, 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 really closely matched. Like honestly, I think Ruby was losing that fight.
Oh yeah.
Like she she was barely staying ahead of Harriet's attacks.
Her weapon is
And
just
like
not good for PvP. It's a grim
mhm,
killing weapon. And so
yeah.
she was having to use a lot of hand to hand and a lot more of her semblance relying on
Yeah,
that
I
rather
mean,
than actually using her weapon.
yeah. But like the only reason she won is because Weiss showed up kind of.
I mean, people say that,
Not
but then when you go
but
and watch that part, Ruby was like totally ready for Harriet just then. Harriet was just gonna
mm,
charge at her and she was like, bitch, I got this. And then Weiss was like, yeah, nah, mine.
mhm,
So I'm like,
mhm,
people were like, oh, Ruby only won because Weiss saved her. I'm like, well, no.
mhm.
Weiss interjected. She didn't save her necessarily.
Yeah.
Ruby
Mhm.
was totally ready. She was like, here you come, and I'm going to chop you in half now, bye. Like, um, Harriet's character disappoints me a little bit. Just because I kind of see this for her character, but also, like, she's kind of a dick.
Mm. I mean, I was gonna say she felt of all the Aesop, her and Marrow are the ones that feel the most like I don't know fleshed out, I guess,
Yeah, sure.
because like I mean, Harriet we know is she's competitive. Like we've always known she's competitive, and like so the progression of that feels more you know, normal. The only thing I didn't understand was her comment that she made about like I had you guys pegged from the
I was
start.
just thinking about that.
And
I'm like, no, you didn't.
I was like, no you
No,
didn't.
you
You
didn't.
never once seemed suspicious of Team Ruby at
Not
all. Like
once. And I'm like, that's just her trash talking at that point.
yeah.
But also like for her to say that is like, I'm like, has
Mhm.
Ironwood brainwashed you people into just believing that whoever he tells you to arrest is inherently evil? Like they were
Mhm.
present for the entire conversation leading up to this. They know what Ironwood's trying to do, and they know Team Ruby's trying to stop him. And she's like, "Oh, don't give me that working together crap. I had you pegged from the start." And it's like, pegged us trying to save the world. Cool. Like,
Yeah.
what are you talking about? It was just a weird line.
Mhm.
Um,
Yeah.
Harriet losing
And I
was a
mean
good
it's like
consequence for not working with Mara and letting Weiss fight him. Yeah.
mhm. Especially because like as that was the other thing I liked is like that we've been talking all volume about semblance seeming like super overpowered, and it's like we finally get to be like, oh, it's
Targeted.
based on line of sight.
Targeted. 100%.
Like
Yeah.
so,
And
just
I was always wondering that
he's
because it seemed to be a forward area of effect from wherever he
mhm,
was looking or pointing, wherever his
mhm,
character was pointing. But yeah, to have confirmation that that's how it works is kind of nice. So like,
mhm.
he can only focus on one target at a time. Be super
But yeah,
OP if he ever learned how to use it in like a bubble effect.
I know, right?
Then everybody's in trouble.
Hmm.
But yeah, I don't think they'll ever really be fleshed out to that point, unfortunately.
Yeah, it kind of does become a thing where it's like it feels like at this point they'll basically be antagonists for a while. I mean, granted, again, this is based on how I perceive potentially Volume 8 to be going based on where we are now.
Yeah.
But like, yeah, I don't see like the time to develop these characters was while we were friendly with them, and time has passed.
Time
Like
has
that time is
passed.
over.
I think we're gonna learn a lot from the song too that was in the chapter, which by the way is a fucking banger and
Yeah,
has
I love
4
it.
incredible female vocalists in it, including Casey Lee, who is always phenomenal. But
And
Adrienne
Adrian
Cohen's
Cohen's
back
back.
from Nevermore last volume. And there's 2 others whose names escape me at the
Don
minute. If someone can post
Don
them in
M.
the
Bennett.
chat. Um,
Don M. Bennett was the first one,
mm,
who's also the voice actress for Elm, and then
ah.
Aaron Riley was the last one. And
Oh, I've
I
heard of
saw
Aaron Riley, yeah.
she's in the fandom, and like I don't know, she does some music stuff, and she has her own like OC series and stuff. But yeah,
Yeah, sounds familiar.
she's
I did know that the voice actress of Elm was one of them, though. That's really cool.
yeah. It,
Aaron also
but the
does
thing is,
covers.
people are thinking that the song is a Aesop song, and I'm like, no, it's a Team Ruby song.
Well, it's both, really. I get vibes for both of them from it. You know, it's never really had a problem with you. All along thought our friendship was true, blah, blah, blah. And it's like something about right from the start. And like, I can see both sides.
I put my trust in you right from the start.
Put my trust in you right from the start. Yeah. I could see it having the potential to explain both sides a little bit. Especially because we heard 30 seconds of it, and it's going to be 3.5 minutes, if not longer. So, Ruby versus Aesop's song, likely. Yeah, they could go both ways with it. I mean, what was that song earlier in the volume that had, like, Crow stuff in it, but also, like, Ruby stuff? I'm like, what was that one? Oh, shit. I can't remember.
Earlier in the volume.
Yeah, there was one that had, like, a line in it that I was like, oh my god, that's Crow. But then the line directly before it, I was like, that's Ruby. And it was kind of a bit of an everyone song. Brand New Day. It was Brand New Day.
Was it Brand New Day? Yeah. I was about to say, that's the only one I could think of that it would be. But
it was Brand New Day. Yeah, that one was kind of an everyone song, but judging by the lyrics. And it sort of talks a little bit about each of them and their changes that they've gone through.
Oh, yeah.
Really sad, luck's been bad. Yeah, something about drinking, I don't know. Something about Drunkle Crow. No longer Drunkle Crow. Have a feeling he might become again after this.
I know, remember a couple episodes ago when we talked about him potentially starting up drinking again?
The faces we just made, like, ooh. It reminds me of that gif of what's his face from The Office. Yeah, it's not good. Yeah, so I mean the songs this volume.
I know.
Jesus Christ.
We've already gotten what?
5
or 6?
Let me think. Because
we got the intro song.
Then the next one was chapter 3.
I
forget what that one's called.
Then chapter 5.
Brand New Day is in chapter 4.
Which was I thought it was 5.
4. It was the montage at the start.
I thought that was chapter 5.
It was 4, bitch.
Nope. 4 was them getting their huntsman licenses.
4 was Jockney. You're right, it was chapter 5. Listen,
5.
A lot has happened this volume. It blurs together.
And then there was Shine Part 2, potentially,
and then there was Ironwood
6.
Song, and now this is
Ironwood
1.
Song.
So there has been 6, you're right. And then we'll have a credit song as well. Maybe another song next chapter. I wouldn't rely on it, though. There might be too much going on.
Yeah.
But yeah, that is a lot of music.
Especially because we're getting a song in the credits. We're not going to get one in like main episode unless it's like a snippet of what will be the credit song.
Exactly. Or we might get an entire song. I mean, that consistently.
We usually only get about 7 original songs per thing, per soundtrack.
If that.
Yeah. And then we'll get, 2 to 3 remixes or stuff like that. So.
I think there's room for there to be an original song on this album that wasn't in the actual show. Especially because they got a bit more of a head start on it this volume, which is why we have heard more songs in the actual episodes and they sound a bit more fleshed out than typically they have previously. Like, previously we get, like, one song is literally 10 seconds of, like, piano was singing. It's like, this is not very fleshed out at all, but here's an idea that we had. Let's stick it in here. Which is how they like to do some of their music is like, okay, we need basic rock
they love
music
to work
with
off
these
their motifs
lyrics.
as well.
Yeah, they love to work off the motifs as well because that's already some of the work done for them in that. Okay, we have this melody. How do we put lyrics to it and turn it into a rock song? That's basically how they come up with half of the stuff, which is amazing and I love so much. Bad Luck Jump's still one of my favorite songs for that reason. And to have had already 6 original songs in the actual show this volume has been really good. Even like the one at chapter 3, I forget what that one's called. Touch the Sky.
Yeah, I was just saying.
I was thinking of
like,
the lyrics.
Rising,
I was
and then I was
running
like,
through
no.
the lyrics in my head, like, there it is. That one, it was, you know, very brief, but it was there. And it was, you know, it sounded more like an idea at that stage than something that was totally fleshed out. I know that sometimes the songs are put in there last minute as well. I know that happened Volume 5, Chapter 13, with, what's that song fucking called?
Sacrifice? No, Fault. No,
What's it called? What's it called? The one
it's
Cinder
the fucking
versus
Raven song.
Cinder versus Raven, what's it called?
Isn't it called Sacrifice?
No, that was Volume 2, dickhead. Sacrifice is old. Very old. What was that one called? I can't remember. You know what? I'm opening my fucking Windows Media Player because it's going to drive me crazy. Volume
I listen
5.
to this song all the time too. I'm like, what the fuck is it called?
There's been too many. I can't remember them all. Volume 5 soundtrack. It was called All Things Must Die. All Things Must Die.
All Things Must Die. I was like, I could like hear in the song where I was like, there's this line. I know this is the title right here, but what was the line? So trust love, touch the sky, brand new day. Tell me it's love. Tell me it's love.
Yeah, that was chapter 6.
But then he says, then there's the party song. Was that not Tell Me It's Love?
I thought those were the same. It's the same thing. Yeah.
Yeah, I thought it was the same thing. And then Hero in War, yeah. Because they had the same...
No, there's 6 altogether. The Tell Me It's Love was the party song in chapter 6. It's the same song.
Yeah.
Yeah. There weren't 2. No, they're not 2. Definitely not. There was one song in there. It was the same song.
We just only were hearing instrumentals of it in the background.
We heard
and then
one
they pulled
verse
it to the forward.
and one chorus of it, but it's the same song. Yeah. It's not 2 different ones. There's no way.
Yeah. Because they followed the, like, kind of same motif as Shine.
Yeah, same music. Yeah. It was very Shine reminiscent, deliberately. But yeah, All Things Must Die was thrown in there quite last minute.
I mean, that's why it was like 4 lines.
Yeah, I mean, that's why it was pretty short and was not the best sounding as far as quality is concerned because it was so last minute. But yeah, they often just throw things in there quite at the last minute because, you know, they might have an idea and go, we need to get this into the episode. And I know that this year they have been so far ahead on production. Scoring has wrapped already for Volume 7. They wrapped a couple weeks ago. So that's like, usually they get the episode, they have a week to write the score before the episode's out. This year, they were 3 weeks ahead of schedule wrapping for the score. So I'm like,
wow.
Clearly they've been a bit more ahead than usual.
Yeah.
So extra potential for the album. I'm not going to hold my breath because we have gotten 6 originals. And there will be a 7th in the credits. So I'm like, that's 7 originals. I think that's probably going to be what we get. And then the remixes and acoustic, whatever have you, versions that they put on there.
So I just saw on Twitter that people are looking in the schedule for Rooster Teeth.
Oh no.
And there's an episode in there titled The Enemy of Trust. And it shows the thumbnail is Freya.
Is Arnold trolling again?
No, because this is Dan.
And I see it on Arnold's.
It looks legit.
I think that might be legit. Why is Freya the thumbnail? Is this another situation of like, we have to show this thumbnail because everything else is a gigantic spoiler?
Yeah.
Which I feel like has been the last 4 chapters. Who you become when your greatest fears are realized. Motherfucker! That is a short description. Also, runtime 24 minutes. Cool beans.
Apparently.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, that means that the actual episode's only gonna be like 16 minutes.
Not very long. Yeah. That's not a huge runtime.
Because we've got like 5 minutes of credits.
That concerns me.
Yeah.
That's quite short.
It's quite short, but again, You know, I don't think they could have
They did a lot with
wrapped this
17
up
minutes
anyway.
back in chapter 5, though. Like, that felt like the longest chapter ever.
Yeah, that's true.
And that was 17 minutes, including short credits and intro. So it was like 15 minutes, if that. So for this to be 24 with probably 4 to 5 minute long credits plus the intro is going to be actually around 18 minutes of total screen time. Hey, Matthias.
Yeah.
Which is not that long for a finale, but it's plenty of time for things to go terribly, terribly bad, horrible. So,
yeah.
Also, what's the title? I forgot. The Enemy of Trust. Oh dear.
Yeah.
Oh gosh. I don't like it.
The thing is, I was making plans for tomorrow to go hang out with family who are in town, and I'm like, this could be a terrible idea. I'm gonna be so emotionally compromised from this episode
You'll
that
have
I'm
the
like,
car ride.
It's
not gonna be
true.
enough. It's not gonna be enough.
It's not gonna be enough.
I feel like this volume's gonna leave me reeling.
I didn't recover from this episode for like 6 hours.
I didn't recover from this episode for like 3 days. Are you kidding me? It took me half the week to, not be okay with it, but to recover from what happened. I refused to rewatch it for like half the week. And then I did, and I was very sad.
Yeah.
Salem is the enemy of trust. I don't know that I'd say that that's completely accurate. I would say right now Ironwood's the enemy of trust. Because he's sort of forcing everyone around him to distrust him. We just don't... Never mind the Aesops, they don't count.
Yeah.
They're his soldiers.
I mean, they're out of commission. I don't think we're going to see the Aesops in the next episode.
Oh god, no. No, there's no way. They're done.
Yeah.
Maria and Pietro are going to hide them in an elevator somewhere or something. Just lock them up. We'll deal with those later. But I love Maria and Pietro freaking running in and Weiss just dropping Maria's legs on the floor. And Maria's like, this is when they ask us to help. And I'm like, I have missed Maria. I look forward to seeing her in the finale. Please, Maria in the finale.
Yeah, no.
But I love the visual of them getting there after all of the action, and now Team Reboot are like, hey, can you help us move some bodies? we need to get rid of the Aesops. I swear we didn't kill them. Yeah.
Also, I just wanted to say, when Harriet ran into the wall, did you not have a split second where you were like, she just died?
Maybe like a split second. Matthias,
like
thank
a
you for
split
subbing.
Second.
Oh!
No, it's a gifted sub.
Oh, gifting a sub to Dodge. Thank you, Matthias. I appreciate that.
Ooh.
I got an emote. Thank you.
What emote did I get?
I don't know. I don't know what that is. Looks like a butt. Oh, love oops. What? I don't know what that is.
I didn't come up with a thing for what emote I got. This is racist.
Thank you, Matthias, for the sub. I appreciate your face. I mean the gift sub. Yes, episode. Where were we? Let's get back on track.
I mean,
so the team.
Well, we finished with them in the airship.
The team,
and then we kind of talked about the team. Yeah,
Aesop's fight.
But we did skip over a scene in there. But
we skipped over a lot. Was incredible. It was really, really nice to see the girls kind of at their full capacity. Because I think it's taken Creepy a very long time to get them back to where they were in early volumes, because they've spent a lot of years trying to figure out how to animate them and how to make them move in a way that is similar to how they used to, but also different at the same time. Weiss was incredible this chapter. I loved seeing her kick ass, because we haven't seen Weiss kick any ass for some time. She keeps getting her ass kicked.
This is the first time since Volume 1 she's won a one-on-one fight.
Yeah, literally.
That was a lot of ones I just said.
Since Volume 1 with a one-on-one.
She won a one-on-one.
You just reminded me of the Dogsdale Dimmadome guy.
Dimsdale Dimmadome.
Dimsdale Dimmadome. Home to the Dimsdale Dimmadome. Distracted me. Yeah, Weiss was phenomenal. Kicking ass, phenomenal. I can't speak. I loved seeing what she was doing with the semblance and with the knight, and like how she was
Mm-hmm.
trash talking back to Maro because he was trash talking her. Like,
Yeah.
every single time somebody fights Weiss, they're like, I know Shnees usually get everything they want. And I'm like, here, this didn't make any sense for Maro to say this because it has nothing to do with anything that's going on, the fact that she's a Shnee. But her clapback being like, this is my home and I am not giving it up without a fight. I'm like, yes, bitch. You tell him.
Yes.
You tell him this is your home.
That was also just such a gorgeous shot of her standing with the knight behind her, and
Beautiful. My
fuck 'em
queen.
up.
My fucking
I'm
queen.
like, the good boy's about to die, but oh well.
Nah, he's fine.
Nah, he's fine.
He's fine. He'll live.
Yeah. Although she tried to straight up murder that guy because she was gonna throw him. She threw him at those icicles, and if he wasn't,
she knew what she was doing, right? She wasn't gonna.
His aura would have protected him.
His aura.
I was still like, Jesus Christ! I didn't even catch on my first
just
watch.
A hilarious visual of him being like, like just missing all of the spikes. And then the knight's sword slicing them all in half as well. I was like, oh, this is visually gorgeous. This Weiss versus Maro section of the fight. I thought the pairings were really interesting with whom was fighting who. Weiss fighting Maro didn't necessarily expect. But I don't think they were going to have Blake versus Maro either. That wouldn't have been.
Well, I was wondering if it was, if they would do it just because, like, Faunus.
I know, but that's why they didn't at the same time, I think.
Yeah.
But why does Weiss always end up fighting the Faunus?
Because they have to keep making it so they can make it about a race thing, and her being like, no, I don't care.
Also, I saw a tweet from some random that I don't know on Twitter being like, just like berating Weiss for saying that it was her home and like, how dare she talk about defending Mantle to a Faunus? I'm like, okay, A, they're an Atlas, yet blind twat. And B, she has as much right to defend Mantle as Maro does. It is still her home. So I'm like, I don't understand what that person was so angry about. I think they're just angry for the sake of being angry.
Yeah.
But,
this volume has done a lot to divide Atlas and Mantle, but like they are still the kingdom of Atlas.
They're one and the same still.
They are kind of like, why do you think that why do you think Mantle has a seat on Atlas's council?
Exactly.
It's because they are like, just because like you can see them as like separate states doesn't mean they aren't part of the same government. Like,
and here's the thing: Weiss probably didn't give a shit about Mantle before she went to Beacon, but now that she's been down there and fought for it and seen what's going on and how her father's been manipulating things, of course she cares. Of course she wants to defend it, and because she's not a fucking monster. But like, they were an Atlas at the time. She's saying, "This is my home. I will defend it to the last breath." And
I didn't think it had anything to do with Mantle.
Not anything whatsoever. But like at the same time, if she'd said it about Mantle, I'd be like, "Yes, girl." Because she's Weiss, again, she can do no wrong.
This volume has kind of set them as two separate entities, but they are still technically a part of the same thing.
Kingdom.
It's just
they're still the same kingdom.
It's just because they're like kind of having basically a class war, is what it is.
Yeah. It's kind of in a way almost like what's the city where Haven was called? Mistral and Argus. They're on the same continent. They're part of the same kingdom, but Argus is Atlas controlled mostly.
Yeah.
Probably not anymore. But Argus was an Atlas controlled city on the continent that was owned by the kingdom of Mistral. So, similar sort of deal, except they're both Atlas. Atlas and Mantle are both Atlas technically, but they're like separate cities, separate entities, and they don't like each other at all. So, what were we talking about before we got onto that? Oh yeah, the fight. Ruby versus Harriet was interesting because, like you said, they are so evenly matched. Their similences are very similar, but as we saw in this fight...
I like that Ruby's whole thing was just like, run away, come get me, bitch.
Exactly.
And Harriet just being like...
I think Harriet's frustrated that Ruby kind of has a superior semblance to her because it's not just speed. She can also teleport, burst into rose petals and deform and reform herself, which Harriet can't do. She just dashes around. Harriet's got a cool weapon, which Ruby's weapon is no good for close quarters or PvP. It's a grim killing weapon. because she obviously had intentions to be a huntress, not a frickin' Aesop's killer.
Yeah.
Killer. But she, to see her relying on things that weren't her weapon in this fight, relying on her semblance and her hand-to-hand knowledge, which she's gained relatively recently as well, has been really good for Ruby. I like to see Ruby fight in this manner against somebody else who is more skilled than her. Just relying on the advantages that she knows she has over the other person. And also using Harriet's anger against her.
Yeah.
Was really good. Ruby got some good hits in. She did. There's a shot there that I love where Ruby's like uppercutting Harriet and she's like, yeah! Like, that's so good. So Ruby. But yeah. The freeze frames are incredible in that fight. Just go frame by frame through the Ruby versus Harriet. It's very, very amusing. Blake and Yang versus Elm and Vine. I stan bees. They are incredible.
Yeah.
This fight was fabulous.
Gorgeous.
It was a meme that I saw after the chapter went up of like, after Elm grabs Blake and Yang goes, huh? And it's like, panicked girlfriend sounds or something like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I loved this. Yang's hair, oh my god, when she activated her semblance and like the sound that accompanied it, it looks so good.
Yeah.
It's so pretty. She's so beautiful.
I love how much control she has over it. Because,
Yeah.
like, even when we saw it in Volume 6, it still felt a little bit like it was, like, an anger response. A little bit. Like, she had clearly had control over it.
Yeah.
But, like, this was, like, so smooth. She used to just... Like, she knew that this was the moment she needed to use it. And,
Yeah.
like, I was just like...
Activated
gorgeous.
on control,
Wonderful.
on demand, which is something that she's not really had with her semblance. It's always been like an outburst of emotion, and she's activated it. But now it's like she went in for a hit, realized Elm was coming at her to a different way than what she expected, adjusted her trajectory, activated her semblance, and then basically overpowered her. And I was like, yes, Yang, that is how you should be using your semblance, because just throwing a tantrum never works for you. I mean, it does, but there are some situations where it hasn't.
Plus, she was also just so smart with, like, destroying the ground. Like, she was actively trying to break the ground because, again...
Then Elm can't use her semblance.
Yeah. Elm's abilities and everything, like, she requires being rooted. I was saying Elm right as you said semblance, so I was like emblem, and I was like, I just started saying your word in the middle of mine. But like, it requires her to be, centered, and like we saw her using being attached to the ground very well against Yang.
But it does leave her very vulnerable at the same time.
And without it, it's like,
Yeah, the glass shattering effect on the floor looked incredible. Everything about this chapter looked incredible. This chapter was visually tittillating.
Yeah.
I love that word. Shut up. Don't derail me. But yeah, Elm, useless, was kind of just there. I wish they had done more with him. He could have been so interesting and dynamic. Vine.
I was like, Elm. Elm was like the star of that fight. I was like, what are you talking about?
Vine. Okay? You know who I meant. One of my favorite shots of this fight, weirdly, is when Elm smacks her hammer into Blake's underbelly and she just goes flying. I was like, you feel that. Like, that looks like it fucking hurts. I thought Blake's aura went down for a second when she hit the wall. Yeah. But then I was like, oh, no, wait. It just hit her aura. She's fine.
Yeah. It was just a big hit. Yeah,
it was just a hit. I like that they are showing more of, like, aura taking hits. Because it's something that they've talked about being, like, it's second nature. They just activate their aura when they know they're going to get hit. But it's not something that we really see. So they've done a bit more visualizing with the aura this volume, which has been really nice. They've changed the way it looks. They've changed the way it breaks as well. So it now, like, flickers and then sort of, like, just dissipates.
Yeah, it looks like dissolves into ash, whereas before it looked like it glass shattering.
Like it broke, yeah. Now it's more of like, it's run out and poof, there it goes.
Yeah, it looks more magic now.
It does.
Yeah.
It's very pretty, and I like it.
I do too.
I like. I did notice that
There's just been
Marrow's.
too many light blue or
I was
bright
about to
blue
say.
auras. Like I was like, Jesus Christ, we have James, we have Marrow, we have Vine, we have Clover. I was like, oh my God, can they give people not blue like auras,
Literally.
please?
Why wasn't
Like,
Clover's green? Why wasn't Marrow's brown? Like,
hmm
where is any of the originality here? Like, Marrow's I kind of get because he has blue eyes, but it was
yeah,
like
they
light
normally go by
aqua.
eye color.
It was light aqua, and his eyes are blue. His eyes are like
hmm
this, like that.
And he had a darker. I mean, James's was like really light blue. I thought Marrow's
James,
was
I
kind
get.
of Marrow seemed a bit deeper of a blue than we've seen.
Marginally. But like so many of them have a blue aura color. I'm like, can you some variety here would be great.
Yeah, especially because so many of them, like half the time they go by eye color because like Harriet's is her eye color.
Mm.
You know, did we see Elms? We
Yes,
must have.
hers is like an amber color, like her eyes.
Yeah.
Um,
So it's like, exactly. Why didn't they just keep with eye color? Like, I know
yeah.
that they don't want to always stick to
Clover,
that because again,
yeah, Clover especially annoys me because his name is Clover. He's named after a green plant. Why is your aura light blue? It makes no sense. I mean, his eyes are light blue, to be fair. But there's too much light blue going on. Ruby's eyes are silver.
exactly.
Her aura's not silver. It's red. So
Yeah, that's why
like,
going by eyes isn't always the best.
Blake's aura is purple. Yang's aura
And
is
Yang's
yellow.
eyes are purple.
Yang's aura is yellow, but her main color is yellow. Weiss's is white, No, Weiss's is light blue as well. What am I talking about? John's is white.
Yeah.
But like, I'm like, just have some variety, please.
Yeah,
Is it really that difficult to just change the color?
Especially in the last 2 episodes, we've seen 4 light blue auras, and it's like, oh my God, like.
Does everybody have a light blue aura? Or is it only people with a piss weak aura like Weiss?
I get it. It's they're in the snow place, so they need that.
They're in the
icy,
snow
but
place.
like.
Oh my God, yeah, it annoys me as well. It was definitely very obvious that I was like, wow, half of these people have a light blue aura. Cool. Why? Makes no sense. But anyway, the Blake and Yang fight. My God, I love seeing those two work together because they're such a weird pairing as far as like their styles are concerned, but they work so well together because they've worked at it for so long. But like seeing them just beat the piss out of Elm was so satisfying.
I know.
And like that charge in that they do where like Blake is grinning and Yang looks super focused and like kind of mad. I was like, that's really cool. You don't see Blake grin when she's fighting usually. She's like, hey, we're coming to get you, bitches. I love that. I love that for Blake.
And then they had that like yin yang moment too where Blake went over the hammer and Yang went under.
Oh my God. Right after the charge
gorgeous.
when it breaks to slow-mo and Blake like backflips over Yang and Yang comes up underneath. I was like, it looks so pretty. And then also when they do the slow-mo slice through Elm's aura as well, the two of them, like Yang going up and Blake coming down, I was like, oh, it's so pretty. I can't. I don't even remember what happened to Elm. He just got taken the fuck out. He was kind
Vine.
of... Vine! Why do I keep saying Elm?
His name is Vine.
I don't care! He's barely there! I don't care what his name is.
He threw a rock at Yang, and Yang covered it in bombs, threw it up to Blake. Blake threw it at
that was really cool.
Vine, and then Vine grabbed her, and she was like, haha, just kidding, I'm covered in bomb.
I love that she used the shadow
I'm the
like
bomb
that.
now.
Yeah. I never really think of her shadow clones as being like tangible, so the fact that she was able to stick bombs to her shadow clone is really cool. Because I always thought they were more of an apparition rather than a physical...
Well, I mean, we saw that in Volume 6 a little bit when
That's true.
when Adam stabbed the clone, and then
it even reacted to being stabbed. So I was like, how real are these clones? Like, are they literal, like, tangible clones until they disappear? Or like,
I mean, I think that they still kind of have that effect where like they have a moment to react, and then they disappear. Like even back in Volume 3 when Adam chopped off the Blake clone's head, like it had time for like the head to separate before it disappeared.
Yeah.
So like they're like slightly tangible, but like So it probably honestly like it feels like a hit, and then but it's nothing.
Yeah, it's not
Kind of a thing.
I would love to see how Blake's semblance evolves over the next few years. Like, if it could be to a point
I mean, we've
where
already seen it evolve so much.
her clones could speak. That would be really interesting.
Oof,
if she could, like,
creepy.
be hiding behind a corner and, like, send a clone out, pretending that it's actually her and have them speak and stuff like that. That could be really cool. I mean, it's already come a long way from how it looked in Volume 1 and Volume 2, even. Her shadow clones. So,
Plus, she's finally reutilizing dust clones, which I love.
Yes. Oh my god. Blake and her dust clones. I live for this. I live for Blake.
Didn't see it in this episode, but like we've seen it this volume.
Yeah, last episode and chapter 6 as well. She used.
You mean chapter 10?
Which one was the Grim Invasion one?
That was 10.
Was that 10?
Yeah.
How was that 10?
I know.
How was that 2 chapters ago? What the fuck?
I know. Because last chapter was literally just Ironwood versus Watts, LGB versus T, and then all the talk in Ironwood's office, and that was the episode.
I think you mean LDB versus T. But you know, I'm not salty. I'm a little salty. But yeah, this entire like sequence was fucking awesome. Loved it.
So awesome. Although I had one weird thing where it was just a thing I thought of when Elm went to like fire the thing at. She was gonna fire her rocket at Yang.
In close quarters.
I was like, in close quarters, she would have blown herself apart. But I was also like, Vine is right there with no aura. Like,
also, you're going to destroy the tower.
Vine.
Like, you're going to bring the whole thing down if you do that. I was like, maybe don't use high velocity rockets in close quarters combat, you dumbass. Like, what are you doing?
I was literally like, when she pulled out the rocket launcher, I was like, oh god, like.
That's going to be bad. You have not thought this through. I said that a lot of times during this chapter. You've not thought this through at all. But yeah, no, this whole sequence was awesome, fantastic, loved it, great, awesome. Let's move on.
So we completely skipped over everything with Winter and Penny, so I think we should do that.
Oh shit, I forgot all about that. Yeah, so again, Winter just following orders annoys me, but at least she has personal feelings about it and doesn't agree with it, but you're still doing it. And I think she knows, though, that her part to play in all of this is the most crucial. She's like, I need to get the Winter Maiden powers. We're fucked. Like, I mean, they might be a little fucked anyway. But the fact that they sat there for so long talking about it, I was like, do you not know that there is a crisis going on outside? Have some urgency, please, ladies. Like, this discussion is great. Can this happen later?
Winter even said that. She was like, we've wasted enough time, and then Penny was, still keeping her up, and so she had to kind of get Penny back on board. But yeah, I know, I was the entire time, I was like, Cinder's coming, move!
She's coming. That's going to be a really interesting standoff next chapter, especially because we know Ruby and Weiss are going to tuck over there now. So Ruby, Weiss, Penny, Winter versus Cinder is going to be very interesting.
I mean, Freya's there too.
Freya's there, but is she capable of doing anything? I mean, she did have her eyes open in the thumbnail, so...
I mean,
maybe
she's
still
a maiden.
Like,
maybe she can't move so well, but like, doesn't mean she can't put her arms out and just shoot icicles everywhere or something. Like,
it'd probably kill her if she did that.
Probably, but I mean, at this point, it's better than Cinder killing her. Like, that's the thing I'm most worried about when Cinder busted through that wall. Is I was like, Freya's right there. She could just go yoink. Like,
yep. But like the fact that it took them so long to. Even like, I'm like, that you're standing around talking and Cinder is coming. Hurry the fuck up. And I'm like, this is another thing of like convenience and it's like a plot where like, oh, let's stand around having a conversation even though we're unlimited time. And it's like, that's great.
I liked it.
I like the conversation, but this needs to not happen right now. There are more important things to do, like your job. Can you just do that, please? But at the same time,
I
I'm
don't
all
know.
for the development between Winter and Penny, but I'm like,
Yeah.
urgency, please. Nobody has any.
And I don't know. I mean, I thought the justifications for why they were kind of slowed down made sense because, Winter's panicked about what the hell is happening with Weiss, and then Penny is questioning her orders and, like, her
Oh
if
yeah,
she
that's
should go
fine.
help her friends and everything.
But
Like,
then they get to the room and they stop and have another conversation, and I'm like, can
I mean,
you
but
not?
I don't think they're stopping to have a conversation. I think because like Penny was on the data pad the entire time. I think they were just preparing the aura trance.
She'd be going faster if she wasn't talking.
Yeah.
The fact that
But I
it
don't
was
know.
just annoying
I
me, it
just
was taking so long.
Mhm.
Because I'm like, hurry up! Because I'm like, Cinder's coming! Would you just rush it, please?
Oh.
Yeah, it just
I
annoys
know.
me.
I just love that conversation because like
I do as well.
they're such an interesting dynamic.
They are really interesting.
And just like the difference between like, following orders but having feelings about them, and when do you trust your feelings, and like, even like she made that comment about here, hold on. I actually wrote it down because I liked it so much.
Well, there's
I've
a line
hardly
that she
consulted my
has where she's like, we have to acknowledge our feelings. It tells us that
my
we're
personal
on
feelings won't
yeah.
change my actions. Blah 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 blah. But yes, Penny, we must still acknowledge our personal feelings, wrestle with them. They ensure we are on the right path. It's what makes us human. And I was like, I liked that
I don't,
it also makes
because
us.
it's not always true. Sometimes if you have personal feelings towards, something you've been told to do, it's because that's your instincts warning you that it's the wrong thing to do. It's not always your instincts telling you, yes, this is the right thing. Sometimes when you have feelings about an order, it's like, I don't think this is right. And like, it's not always that it ensures we're on the right path. And no, sometimes it's your instincts telling you you're on the wrong path and you need to do something else. So I'm like, yes, to a point, but also not completely accurate all of the time.
Yeah. But that's why she said wrestle with them, because when you wrestle with your personal feelings, it help you like analyze how you actually feel.
Yeah, but
like because even she said earlier that they can agree that they don't see what's good about them, but but she can as we've heard from Winter in the past though, that this is her destiny. She has to be the one. She's made it her own. So even though yes, she has these orders to go get the Winter Maiden powers and blah blah blah, but like she has come to terms with what that means and everything. Like, and sure, once she has the Maiden powers, maybe she won't necessarily agree with Ironwood's plans to raise Atlas into the sky or everything, but like right now her orders are just get the Winter Maiden powers. And she's already justified to us why she sees things the way they are. Like, I don't know, because she did comment on the situation with like declaring martial law and abandoning Mantle, and she agreed with Penny that she doesn't see what is good about that, but her orders right now are to get the Winter Maiden powers. And does she really want to abandon getting the powers in order to go help Weiss with whatever's happening?
I get Winter because like what she has to do is crucial and extremely important. Whereas what the Aesops were doing, on the other hand,
I mean, listen, I agree that Aesop felt a little bit like, sheep. But like, I don't think Winter did.
No. Also, what did we say about the long ass hallway? Like, hello, seeing it lit up in those flashing red lights was really cool. And being like, hello, Cinder's here. Can you tell by the atmosphere? All the lights are off.
I was so disappointed though, because like I've been saying ever since we first saw that hallway that I have this vision in my head of a fight scene in that hallway, and I wanted to see Cinder just like with like her two blades like just killing robots as she makes her way down the
Oh.
the darkened hallway and stuff, and like to see that when she walked out there the robots were already on the floor. I was like, no, I wanted to see her like fight her way to
they've got
that
to save
door.
animation somewhere. But
I know, but
did
I
you
was like,
see
it
the
could have been
concept
so
art
fucking hot.
in the credits of Penny versus Cinder?
Yeah.
That looks really good. I'm like,
I
that's
know.
what I'm looking forward to. But also, fuck Penny.
Yeah.
I'm just so concerned for Penny's safety and well-being all the time.
Yeah,
I've
really, got feelings on that
I'm doing a heckin'
too.
concern for her. But also Winter, because I'm kind of like, at this point, I think you're dead. But I also don't want you to go, because you're a really good, interesting character, and I feel like it would be wasted potential if you went now. Don't I feel like we haven't gotten to know her character well enough.
Yeah.
But they have been doing a lot of characterization for Winter this volume, which makes me think that she's gone. And also there's the fact that Cinder kind of wants Cinder wants the Winter Maiden powers, and Winter's standing in her way. So every other potential
But
maiden...
Winter doesn't have the powers yet, though. No. That's the only saving grace here, is...
Pyrrha didn't either. She's dead.
But she literally, Cinder, after she had the powers, let Jean and Pyrrha leave.
She did, yeah.
And she was like, I'm here to kill Oz. But, like, But it was when Pyrrha came back and was trying to stop her that she was like, hey, you gotta die, like...
Oh, there's no way Cinder's going to die.
No way. Cinder's an endgame boss. Like...
She is a cockroach. She will be alive until the end.
Here's the other thing. I feel really horrible saying this. Cinder needs a win. No. So I'm not hopeful for what's about to happen, because I'm like, Cinder is the most useless villain. If they want to make her like any sort of...
I like her useless.
I mean, but they need to make her feel like a threat, so she needs to like accomplish something.
She's so overconfident, and it's always her downfall. Always.
Yeah, true.
And it doesn't look like anything's changed. She hasn't learned anything from her previous encounters, because she's exactly the same. And like, just Cinder. I would love for her to just be gone, but it's not going to happen. She's going to be there until the end, just annoying the crap out of me. She exists solely to annoy me.
Yeah. The only saving grace I can see happening is... because we know Weiss and Ruby are headed there, that, like, Cinder hates Ruby. Ruby shows up and she might just be like... No.
Lose all of it, Lose all of the focus. But also there's the element there of, like, Weiss being like, bitch, you tried to murder me. Like, and Winter being like, excuse?
I know, I really want that to be a thing. I've seen so many memes about it where it was like... oh, I see, you lived. And Winter being like, excuse me, what? Like...
what the fuck did you just say?
I thought I killed you. Excuse me, what?
What? What did you do? Yeah, so that could be interesting. I just really hope that it's not another situation of, like, they get there too late. Like
that's I have many theories about what's going to happen during that fight.
Well, Ruby and Weiss went after Pyrrha in Volume 3, and Ruby got there too late. So it's like, are they going to draw parallels to this? Because that was in that finale too, and, like, I'm scared. I'm very worried. I'm doing a heckin' concern, because there's been a lot of Volume 3 parallels, and I'm not ready for that if it happens.
I mean, but maybe this will be the time where, like, they'll give them the slight win, where instead of Ruby arrived in time this time.
You're
or maybe
optimistic. Not.
I try to be, because otherwise things are horrible and I don't want to.
I agree. I think it's going to be terrible.
Smile through the pain.
Smile through the pain. This is my concerned face. Yeah, so that was the thing. I thought the dialogue was a little strange after Cinder showed up in the room.
Yeah, I kind of agree.
Like, Cinder just the delivery of it, and then her being like, What do you think of that? I'm like, this line was a setup for Penny to say, I think it gives me personal feelings. That's all that line was. It was there to set up that for Penny.
Best line, like
Penny
my
got
new
the best
favorite
line,
quote.
but the setup was weak. Like, I'm like, why is that? Why?
Cinder does kind of always have cringy dialogue.
She does, but she usually delivers it really well. Whereas in this scene, I was like, that was kind of strangely delivered. I I love if you freeze frame Winter dashing in through the door with Cinder's fire going up behind her. Her face is like, she's got the funniest face on.
I swear she said "damn it" as she went in there.
I don't know. I was not paying attention.
It sounded like it could have just been like like it could have just been grunting, but like it sounded so much like "damn it" to me. I can't unhear "damn it" like in there.
I don't know. I'll have to go back and watch it and listen. But yeah, that was that thing. And somebody also drew parallels to how, like, when Amber was in the chamber, Pura's reflection was directly over hers. Whereas in this scene, Penny and Winter are to either side of Freya, their reflections. So, which is making some people think that neither of them are going to get the Winter Maiden powers. It's going to go to somebody else. No.
Listen, I have theories about how Winter could potentially obtain the powers, how Penny could potentially obtain the powers.
I don't think Penny's eligible. She's a robot.
I have thoughts. We'll get to them when we're predicting things.
She doesn't even have a complete aura. She has part of an aura.
Imagine what she could do with a complete aura.
Well, why would Penny get it? Enlighten me to this theory. How the fuck would that happen?
Okay, Pietro is there. Pietro is there.
Right.
Penny is going to die in this fight against Cinder, and Pietro is going to suggest giving the rest of his aura to Penny. He's going to die for Penny, and then somebody's going to say, "No, let's throw her in the machine. We'll transfer Freya's aura to her."
All of this happening assuming that Cinder is out of the picture, though.
Exactly. That's the biggest thing for my thing is I'm like, how the fuck do we get rid of Cinder?
We don't. Cinder's a cockroach. I'm not getting rid of her. She's not getting the Winter Maiden powers. That's not going to happen. It's not going to be Winter. It's not going to be Penny. It's not going to be Cinder. It's another wild card entirely. It could be Weiss. I doubt it though, because like why?
People still have hope for Nora. I've kind of given up on Nora. It made sense. It made sense to me early on, but they haven't developed Nora.
Yeah, they were
or
like
Freya
Nora backstory
at
this
all.
volume, and then it hasn't happened. And I'm like, it's finale time. Where is the supposed backstory?
Yeah, so there's no time for it. So I'm like, I think as interesting as it could have been,
no,
you know, Nora's out of the picture. Especially also because Nora is nowhere near involved in fights. Like,
no, not even remotely. Oh, I forgot about Neo.
Yeah, I was going to bring up Neo's next on our list. I mean, this was such a... I'm disappointed. We've had 2 weeks in a row where we've had this set up for, like, you know, Neo, and we got half a second of, you know, it last episode, and then we get, like, 30 seconds of it this episode, and I'm just like, ugh.
It'll happen.
I mean, granted, we'll get it in the next... Like, there's nowhere else to go but the fight in the next episode, but I was just like, I want to see my girl.
So many people are theorizing that she's gonna apparate into Pyrrha, and I'm like, please don't do that. That will literally rip my heart out. Please don't.
I guess she has seen Pyrrha.
Yeah, she's seen Pyrrha before, so she could, theoretically. But, like, just to throw off Jean, Nora, and Ren... Because Oscar's gonna be like, fuck is that? You won't know who that is.
Yeah. Also, Oscar looked so beat up in this scene.
I know. Why was he so dirty? Where has he been? What has happened to the farm boy? He was out tilling in the crops when Neo found him.
Exactly.
He's fucking covered in dirt.
I'm just disappointed that we didn't get to see that happen. Like, Neo showed up looking like somebody else, and then, you know, gave him a good old thrashing, as Dodge just said.
Yeah. I
and
love that shot of
stole the
like
relic.
Oscar charging up and thwacking Neo in the face. I'm like, yes, boy. But also, you don't realize how dangerous she is. Maybe don't do that.
Oh my god, I got so nervous when
I
Nora
know.
was coming at her.
Mm.
Ugh. Especially because she was just starting to smile right before Oscar yelled, so I was like imagining like, like.
Yep. I love that Nora was about to hug Neo though. Like how awkward. Like Jesus.
Neo just starts crying.
Oh my god! I never knew it could feel like this. This is what I needed. But no, yeah, none of them have fought Neo before, so I'm like, you have no idea how dangerous this girl is and how difficult she is to hit. So the fact that Oscar
I was a little bit
able
surprised to
punch her
hear
in the face,
that they knew about Neo, but I'm like, I guess they kind of need to like
why wouldn't Team Ruby
have all of
tell them about her?
Yeah. I mean, because she wasn't relevant, but again, it's like, you know, I guess it's good to just have the baseline of like the good guys are on the same page. It's it's good to just have that baseline so you don't have to like constantly reestablish who characters are to other characters.
Yeah.
Like,
but also,
you know,
like,
because this fight wouldn't have been as cool if they were just like, who the fuck are you? Who the fuck are you?
I asked you first. I asked you second. But
I made that reference and I said it the first time and I was immediately like, I accidentally just made a reference. I need to keep going.
I mean, it was back in Volume 2 times when they first fought Neo, so I feel like all that Team Ruby and Juniper would do is gossip about the fights that they have. So, like, I feel like Team Ruby would be like, go straight up to Team Juniper and be like, hey, guess what? We just fought Roman Torchwick in a giant mech, and also this chick Neo was there, which was really weird. And, like, I feel like, you know, their knowledge comes from
I'm just confused why they know her name.
Yeah, her full name, too, which was interesting to get confirmation. Neapolitan. Original.
We know Team Ruby's heard her be called Neo. So, like, okay. But, like, she wasn't registered in the Vital Tournament or anything, so I'm like, how do you know she's Neapolitan? I don't know. Maybe she's a wanted criminal and they just were like, Roman Torchwick lady friend.
Things going on behind the scenes again that weren't explained on screen.
Again, doesn't really need an explanation, but it is kind of one of those things where it's like, okay.
Cool to get confirmation of a surname, even if it is fake and very unoriginal.
I mean, she only has a first name, which is Neapolitan. She doesn't have a last name.
The way Nora said it, though, she goes Neapolitan. She said it Neapolitan. She did.
She said Neapolitan.
No, she definitely said Neapolitan. It sounded like two names to me. Definitely sounded like two names. You know, I want to look at the credits. I want to look at the credits and see if her name is listed as Neapolitan or just Neo.
She's not in the credits because she doesn't have a voice actress.
She would have to. Oh, right. Wait.
She doesn't have a voice actress.
I just realized
she's not in the voice
Neo's
credits.
probably never been in the credits.
She's never been in the credits.
I'm going on the wiki. I'm going on the Ruby wiki. Fuck it. Neo. It does say Neapolitan as one word, but like Nora definitely said it like it was two. So I'm going with the theory that Politan is the surname. It just says Neo though. Whatever. I'm gonna say two names. Fuck it. Because the idea of her one name being Neapolitan makes me want to barf. I prefer Neo. What the fuck were we talking about before we got sidetracked with that?
Neo.
Yeah, Neo. Neo's gorgeous. I can't wait to see her fight.
I love that the last shot of her holding out her umbrella the way Torchwick would. Mm-hmm. I almost said Torchwood. Torchwood. That's Alex.
Yes. But like
also in that scene, I also just like I couldn't stop looking at her. They were just like so front and center. I'm just like, my God, Neo.
Tits. And I'm into it. It's Neo. But like, I'm looking forward to seeing her take on Juniper, I guess.
Juniper, yeah.
Like,
throw the pine in there.
She's outnumbered, but she's not outmatched, necessarily. Because...
Yeah, especially because they're also in a cramped hallway, and like...
Yeah.
You know, honestly, I don't know how useful Nora is going to be in this, because, like, she can't really fire grenades.
Not really.
Like, she had her thing in gun mode, and I was like, you're gonna fire grenades in this hallway, really?
Really? You're gonna destroy shit. Yeah.
And then she's got a big ass hammer. Like, what is she gonna do with that?
While there is 4 of them, they are also the B team. So,
yeah,
like, them against Neo, I'm like, yeah, she's not necessarily outmatched.
Yeah. I think Neo, basically, her goal is just gonna be to get the lamp back from
she had it
from
for
Oscar.
a second.
She had it. I know. That's why when they first showed her, I was like, she has the lamp. Why is she still here? Like, she didn't need to kill Oscar. She just needed the lamp. Like, she just needs to get out now.
Yeah.
So I think she doesn't need to win this fight. She just needs to get the lamp and get out.
Exactly. But yeah. So.
Have we covered everything else in this episode that we want to talk about?
I don't want to talk about it. But we have to.
Yeah.
This
We've been going for 2 hours already.
Was
almost
dumb.
2 hours.
And let me explain.
It was really pretty.
The fight was gorgeous. Choreography was gorgeous. Animated so beautifully. Crow was fucking slaying puss. And he was. Listen, let's be real. Step on me. But like, I loved seeing the way that they are animating Crow's fighting style.
Yeah, I literally have in my notes, whoever's animating Crow is phenomenal.
Yes.
Like,
oh my God.
especially just in the last few episodes, like, they finally know how to use his weapon.
Yes.
Like, it's not just, like, it used to be just a sword, and then occasionally they'd whip it into scythe mode. Now it's like he had it, like, as, like, almost a tonfa last episode, and, like, I mean, they finally know how to do Crow, and I love it.
Yeah, it's fabulous. This is better than the Volume 4 Crow versus Tyrion fight. Just putting that out there. Yeah. It's better. It's just better as far as choreography is concerned, animation is concerned, the style in which Crow was fighting. We didn't see a lot of Tyrion in this fight. He kind of got lost in what was going on between Crow and Clover a little bit, because that was the core focus. But the way that Tyrion was using Crow and Clover against each other was really interesting. And like, when, you know, Clover gets knocked back and Crow turns on Tyrion, he's like, we've got a score to settle. And then Tyrion suggests teaming up. And then they teamed up. I was both excited and confused, because I was like, oh my God, Crow and Tyrion are teaming up. This is really cool. But also, like, why? Like, Crow, how do you think that this is going to end any other way than how it ended? Like, he knows Tyrion. He knows he's a psycho. And, like, give him the opportunity, he will stab you literally in the back. And that's exactly what happened. And I'm like, why weren't you keeping your eyes on him? Why did you trust him even for a second enough to fight with him against Clover? Also, why was Clover fighting Crow instead of Tyrion? This is the thing that makes the least sense to me. Like, Clover, instead of, like, going for Tyrion and both of them trying to knock Tyrion out, it was the other way around, where Clover was, like, going for Crow. I'm like, what are you doing? Are you stupid? Yeah. Like, oh my God, it was so frustrating to watch.
Because I can justify Crow's stuff for the most part with, like, you know, Clover was not giving him a choice. Like, the second Tyrion was on the field, he was like, like, he wanted to get Tyrion, and Clover just kept stopping him over and over and over again. And so I think for Crow, it just came down to that if I want any chance of stopping Tyrion, I need to stop Clover first.
Because Clover was...
Because he was just kept interfering, and he was just going to keep interfering. So he was like, when it came down to it, he was like, if I need to work with Tyrion to get Clover out of the picture, I'll do it. I think it's stupid that once he had Clover down, he didn't just immediately go be like, you know, stay down and go after, you know, Tyrion.
Yeah.
But, like, that's really where my issues then come in, because, like, I can justify everything basically up to the point that Clover's aura was down. And then at that point, I'm like, okay, Crow, then you go and...
completely took his eyes off of Tyrion, and I'm like, what are you doing? He's gonna come up behind, and there it is. Like, literally was like, I know exactly what's about to happen. Still wasn't ready for it. Or how violent or like confronting it was.
Yeah.
But you could see it coming because Crow completely took all of his focus off Tyrion just to
Mm-hmm.
just to berate Clover for being an idiot, which he was being
Yeah.
an idiot, but they both were. So like
Mm-hmm.
not apples and oranges, pots to the kettle. Apples and oranges. But like just everything Clover was doing in this chapter was just dumb, and I was like, can you just
Yeah.
use your brain socket for 2 seconds, please, and think
Mm-hmm.
about this? And like you said, I can justify Crow teaming up with Tyrion to a point because Clover was not giving him another choice.
Mm-hmm.
And like Clover going after Crow instead of Tyrion, I'm like, stupid, what are you doing? I don't understand your character in this moment. And it feels like you're just doing these things because this is where this fight needs to go. And it
Mm-hmm.
needs to end with Clover dying. But the way we get there doesn't feel natural and doesn't feel right for the characters.
I mean, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was gonna say, like, again, from the Crow's perspective of it makes sense to me. It's just Clover's doesn't.
Yeah.
I don't understand why Clover wouldn't why he wouldn't help Crow take on
Yeah, why is
Tyrion.
arresting Crow suddenly
'Cause
more important than arresting Tyrion? Is my question
yeah,
for Clover.
yeah.
It's dumb.
Mm-hmm.
It's just stupid.
Because yeah, imagine if he'd gotten Crow in custody, but Tyrion had gotten away in the process. Because like Clover didn't stand a chance against Tyrion. I mean, he held his own actually. Like I finally feel like we actually got to see Clover's potential as a fighter in this
I still
fight.
feel like he was utterly outmatched against both of them, though.
I mean,
Utterly.
he against both of them though
Yeah.
was the thing, and
He
that
would have
was
been
what
utterly
Tyrion
outmatched
knew.
against Crow because a lot
He
of this
would've.
fight was just Crow and Clover socking it out, and
But
Crow is
every time it
better.
was just Crow and Clover though. Clover had his ass like.
Nah, I didn't see that.
I mean, Crow definitely got his hits in, but like Clover was throwing him around like a rag doll. Like
He was, yeah, but at the end of the day, all that was accomplishing was to get him away, not to actually hurt him or take him down in any matter. But like against both of them, he was screwed.
I mean, against both of them, he was screwed, and
Yeah.
and that was but that was exactly the situation Crow was in. Was he was screwed against both of them? Like, I think Crow versus Tyrion and Clover versus Tyrion were both evenly matched things, but if you throw the other one into either fight, whoever's the duo has the advantage, and Crow didn't want to be killed.
Yeah, exactly. But
and Clover seemed to want to be killed, I guess, because he just kept being like,
he had a death wish because like every decision he made here, I was like, what are you doing? This is stupid. Like this whole thing is stupid. But I loved the choreography of like Tyrion pushing Crow back at Clover with his tail and stuff like that, and just
or when he swung around him.
Just feeding off of the conflict between these two friends and like being like, I'm just gonna wait for the right moment to pounce, and that was basically all he was doing.
Yeah, I just loved seeing Tyrion in a group fight because like again him pushing Crow back into the fight, or when he swung around him with his tail and stuff, it was like this is so like fun.
Yeah, it was kind of fun in a stressful way.
It's like in a very stressful way. It was kind of fun, and I'm like, oh, this is why I like Tyrion. But God, fuck you, Tyrion.
Clover grabbing his hair was absolutely savage. I was like, good lord, this is high stakes, like just close quarters. Everybody's trying to kill each other, sort of fight. But at the same time, two of them don't want to kill each other. But then there's an element of Tyrion who wants to just kill both of them, or use them against each other, make them kill each other. And then he leaves Crow alive because he's like, "Oh, look, the authorities are coming. Bye, I'm out."
Because again, there's nothing he loves more than a little bit of chaos. So he's like, "Oh, look, you killed Clover."
Yeah, exactly.
What you've done.
Which I don't think is going to amount to anything, really. I think Crow is going to tuck tail and get out of there before that amounts to anything.
I don't know. I
feel like it's not going to matter, really. I feel like they're setting this up to be like, oh my gosh, they're going to frame Crow for Clover's death. And I'm like, does it matter at this point? Not really. There's a lot bigger things going on.
Yeah, I just feel like it'll lead to more conflict with like Atlas personnel, honestly. But like at this
At this
point,
point, can there be any more conflict?
exactly, like
That's why I feel like it's
because
not really going to matter as much as people think it will.
he said he was going to make James pay.
Yeah.
James is going to take the fall for this. So
because
it's like
James's
clearly
fault.
his
All
goal
of
is
this
to
is
get
James's
to
fault.
yeah. So clearly his goal is to get to Ironwood. And so I'm like, with the backup that was arriving, I'm like, I don't see this, like, I don't know, like, I don't see Crow ending up in jail or anything.
That's not going to happen.
I don't know. I just don't also really know where it's going to go from here, because I'm like, again, Robin's injured, so they have to get Robin medical aid, and like, I just don't know.
Also, like just because
if
Crow's weapon,
I feel like whatever consequence comes from this is gonna. It just feels like whatever the consequence for this is gonna be isn't gonna be
as consequential as.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I feel like the death was the consequence, and so for them to try to like throw something else on top of that, I'm like, oh, and Crow's framed for it. I'm like.
I mean, Penny being
like,
framed.
Tyrion's gone.
Penny being framed didn't amount to anything either. Like, so that's why I'm thinking like this is not going to amount to shit. It's not going to matter. He could
turn into a bird. True.
And just because like Crow's weapon was the weapon that killed Clover doesn't also mean that he killed him either. Like, they know that Tyrion,
especially if they find him
airship.
sobbing over his dead body, like,
Yeah, exactly.
With Tyrion being gone, I wouldn't be.
If they jumped to that conclusion, that will be the dumbest thing that happens all volume. I'll be like, really? Like, really? That will piss me off if that happens. But also, like, good luck trying to arrest Crow.
Yeah,
he's not gonna go like,
bye, bitch.
Bye, bitch. I'm stealing your airship now. Goodbye. Oh, well, he doesn't need an airship. So.
Yeah, he doesn't even need the airship. Yeah.
I am hyped for Crow versus Ironwood, and it's not going to happen this volume. And it makes me very
definitely
sad.
not. I have no idea how they're going to fit Ironwood into this last episode. But, like, they need to, because bitch just left and is nowhere to be seen now. So exactly. I'm like, where are you? Yeah. Where are you?
He is nowhere.
He's probably probably at the vault is probably where he's
That's at. What annoys me most of all about Clover's death is that we're not going to get closure for this until next volume. And that kills me. That really pisses me off. Agile, thank you for the beauties. Thank you. It really, really ticks me off because I know we're not going to get closure for this until next year. Well, later this year, rather. Which is aggravating.
That also, it's very aggravating, but it also gives me hope that they can take what they learned in this moment from the fandom and try to
not repeat it,
make it right. Or not, maybe not make it right. Yeah. But, like, do something that maybe at least honors the fandom a little bit more. Because, But I guess we should probably just, like, dive into this discussion now, even though we've kind of touched on it at the start again. I know. I know that there's a lot going around with people discussing barrier gaze and queer baiting and stuff like that. And I can't get behind barrier gaze.
No.
Because that would require confirmation, which we don't have. And also, barrier gaze is typically used as, like, as almost like a punishment sort of thing for, like, you are gay, you are sinning, so you are destined to die, sort of a thing. And it's supposed to be in that kind of a light. Like, it's basically like you die because you are gay.
Yeah.
Sort of a thing. And that's really not what was happening here.
He died because he was stupid.
Yeah.
They were both stupid.
Queer baiting is hard for me too, as well, because again, there is still the potential for them to confirm that both of them are LGBT characters.
But it's gonna feel hollow if they do that. It is gonna feel hollow. It would honestly, I would like for them to be like, nah, he was straight. That would feel better if they then went, oh yeah, he was gay and we killed him. Whoops. Like, that would piss me
kind
off.
of. I kind of agree as well, but like, they could almost still justify because especially with some of Clover's final words being that he trusted James and he wanted to trust Crow as well. Like if we came to learn that Clover and Ironwood like used to be partners, like that could like kind of not justify, um, validate the fandom a bit in what we were seeing.
Mm.
But again, then it does come down to though he's dead. Like,
My
uh,
main gripe with the queer baiting was from how it was handled on social media.
yeah,
Because again,
and
they
I
shouldn't have
think
been posting it if they knew what was going to happen. They were.
mm-hmm,
It was unintentional gaslighting for a
yeah,
fire that they had to know was going to be started when this happened. And this is
mm-hmm,
the thing. I'm like, you can't completely feign ignorance. You had to know that this was going to happen.
yeah,
If you know
and
your
they've
own
talked about
fandom, you had to know.
yeah, and they've talked about Bury Your Gaze in the past. Like, there was originally like Airship Guy from Volume 5 was gonna be. They were gonna have him have a husband. You know, he's random nobody, but just like throw in a little bit of representation. But then they realized, oh shit, we're killing him in this
Yeah, it
plane
doesn't
crash.
count
So
if
let's
they're
just
dead.
not address. Let's
If
just not
you
address
intend to
this.
kill this character, it doesn't count if you confirm it after the fact. Uh-oh. Did I just lose him? Yes, we're back. Sorry about that. I think my internet just had a stroke, mildly,
Yeah.
because OBS stopped streaming and Discord froze.
Mm-hmm.
So, sorry
Yeah.
about
You
that.
and Larissa are both live now, so that could potentially be why.
Damn it! This is into recordings now.
Yeah, you're gonna have to render them together.
Fuck! That's gonna take hours.
Yeah, it is. Oh no.
I'm already 2 weeks behind. I CBF. Sorry about that.
So as you were saying,
I don't know what I was saying.
I didn't hear any of what you said. You started to say something and then it cut off.
I don't remember a single thing I just said.
You were saying.
I was saying,
Nope,
like,
no.
if they intend to kill the character in the near
Oh, yeah.
future, it doesn't count. Like, it just doesn't for me.
Yeah.
Like, I'm like,
but-
if your intention is to get rid of this character before volumes end, and you know that when you confirm that they're LGBT, that doesn't count. That is bury your gaze. But they haven't confirmed anything. So.
Yeah. But the other issue though or thing I have with Bury Your Gaze is like it's difficult because like you want people to be able to tell stories of because like you know tragedy happens, like if sometimes that tragedy happens to be gay, then I don't want people to like not like to be discouraged from using it, even though like again it is really 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 overused. But like just because gay characters can't just be immune to death because they're gay.
No, of course
like,
not. But
so,
there is a way to handle it, and it was not this way.
Yeah.
They haven't confirmed anything, so you can't justify saying bury your gays. But queer baiting, as far as social media is concerned, was definitely.
I think we can all easily agree it was ship baiting. Like at the very least, it was 100% ship baiting. Like they were feeding this fire of people shipping these characters together, and giving people hope that it could happen.
I mean, it wouldn't have even mattered if it was just purely the fandom just running with it. But the fact that
like that
some members
sometimes.
of Kruby were encouraging it makes me go, "Ooh, you shouldn't have done that." Really
I mostly have problems with the official Ruby Twitter account because again, it's the official Ruby Twitter account.
They should be more in the know than they clearly are.
Yeah, because like again, as I said at the beginning, whatever members of Kruby want to do on their own Twitters is it's their Twitter, whatever. But this is the official Ruby Twitter account. Like they are held to a higher standard than that, and to be using these memes and stuff to like promote their relationship
is shitty. They
It's
if
because
you're
it's
gonna
entirely because they wanted clicks. Like
yeah
they were like the fandom likes this, they want so we're gonna people are gonna like the shit out of this, and we need engagement. So here
if
you
they're
go,
gonna have it
and
be the
that's shitty.
official Ruby account, probably don't let them go off teasing and baiting things that are just gonna backfire
Yeah.
badly. Because that's what's happened here. Is this whole thing has backfired in a way that they
Yeah.
probably didn't really see coming, and it's like,
Mm-hmm.
from their perspective, it was probably harmless teasing,
Yeah.
but from our perspective, it was queer baiting, and people are justifiably upset.
And it's entirely possible that the social media team had no idea this was coming.
They should, though. That's
but
my
they
point.
should have.
They should be
They should
more in the
have.
know if that's the case, because the fact that they deleted old tweets after this happened makes me go, they had no idea this was going to happen. They should know. They should be told about shit like this well in advance so that they don't make the same mistake again. I'm like, how can you have an official Twitter account, have people running that who don't actually know events like this well in advance? And then allowing them to post things they really shouldn't be posting.
We should have seen that this was going on when that leak happened in after chapter 6 with the Robin versus Bumblebee fight.
Oh yeah.
There was like that 1 second of that. We should have known that there was something going on then, because clearly that whoever was running that account wasn't super in the know, because they included something that hadn't aired
That
yet.
was a major spoiler. 2 chapters later. Like, it wasn't even the next chapter. It was the chapter after. So it's like, yeah, there needs to be more communication going on between the PR team and Cory.
And I think with how much the fandom's talking about this, I think that that's going to happen.
It has to.
Because especially, like, I feel awful for Eddie, because Eddie was head writer on this episode, and he went to Twitter on Saturday and he was trying to like talk about this a lot. And granted, I think that was a mistake. You should have let people feel what they wanted to feel, and then maybe talk about this later. Should have given
it a couple of days, let people cool down.
Given it a couple days.
So many people
because
were so angry.
Even I was then. I was still like in my blind rage kind of feeling then.
Yeah.
But like, Eddie knows that about people being upset about social media posts, and I think Eddie at the very least is going to be like, we need to change this. Like,
yeah. This this was executed very poorly.
Yeah.
Some communication at least needs to happen between social media accounts. Some awareness needs to be on Cory's behalf as well. By all means, create your fan art, create, whatever you want to create. This is your show. You've worked on it for years. You love your show. Fair enough. But in this case, it was a really bad idea to tease and bait this when they knew what was going to happen. And they probably should have foreseen that. Again, like, it's hard to say that, but...
Well, I mean, the one animator who I know who's making, Lucky Charms fan art.
Yeah, it wasn't just them, though.
It wasn't just them.
Others.
It was other. There were others as well, but like, I know that I don't know what that person's gender identity is, so I'm just gonna use they. I know that they they knew this was coming, and they were like felt horrible knowing this, because they knew this was gonna happen. They knew people were gonna it was gonna fucking explode, and people were gonna be mad because, again, like, this stuff happens. Like, this happens with other media all the time. Is like, people, they don't want to be the next Voltron. Like, I mean, Voltron, like, oof, that was a shit show. And so, like, I don't think Ruby will, but, like, they need to be careful with what they do, because, it's stuff like this has ended shows before, because, like, the fandom just turns on the show creator.
Yeah. And, like, you can justify it to a point. I don't ever justify being hateful towards people for, like, it doesn't get you anywhere. You can be angry, but don't direct that anger at anyone in particular. It's not productive. Just be angry, vent.
Be angry.
I vented a lot on social media after it happened, but I never directed it at anyone specific. And, like, because that's not productive, doesn't get you anywhere. but like, especially on a place like Twitter where there is already so much toxicity within the fandom on there, um, and like, it's just it's just a bad situation that they sort
Mm-hmm.
of back themselves into a corner with.
Mm-hmm.
So I do
Yeah.
empathize with them to a point, but also they really should have seen this coming.
Yeah. I mean, and then I think this is the part where we talk about intentions because
Mm.
I I now believe that they never intended this to be a romantic pairing. They were always meant to be foils, but they like flipped that on its head kind of, and like rather than making them enemies because they are polar opposites, rather than make them enemies, they made them friends and got to explore how polar opposites interact as friends
Yeah.
and stuff like that. And it just ended up they were going for platonic and they made it a little too platonic that it kind of devolved into romantic.
And
And
here's the thing though, if Clover wasn't going to die, then
mhm,
this would be fine for them to do fan art, write stuff, tease stuff on social media. If
mhm,
Clover wasn't marked for death for this volume,
mhm,
because then if he died next volume, they may not have known about it this volume, and it's like
mhm,
if that event hadn't been already predetermined, it would be a completely different story. But
yeah,
because that event was predetermined this volume and they knew at the start, makes it look really bad for them
yeah,
to
mhm,
encourage all of
yeah.
the shipping and stuff
Mhm.
like that.
And I know people have said that Kruby couldn't have known how this would, like, when they were writing it, they couldn't have known how this would happen, and I disagree
I
on
disagree.
that point
Yeah.
because I said this during chapter 1 of this volume when we were theorizing that Clover had a good luck semblance. Is I said I've been waiting for them to make a character with good luck for Crow to be a love interest,
Mm.
and I never foresaw it being, a dude. And it was like this has always been a thing. People have been waiting for someone with a good luck semblance to be Crow's partner, like not friend, partner. Like
Mm.
it's been a thing in the fandom
For
for
years.
years.
Yeah.
And so like they couldn't have possibly not foreseen people trying to take this relationship romantic. Like even if, I mean, granted, it would have been a thing, like people would have taken this relationship romantic no matter what,
No matter what. Yeah.
no matter what. Like even we probably would have. But
Definitely.
if it wasn't for the fact that it just felt like they kept putting in little things with like how
Callbacks to
many times did
things.
Clover wink at Crow in this
Yeah.
volume? Four
Friends
times,
don't
five
wink
times?
at each other like that. This is
Yeah.
where I get annoyed with it. Friends don't wink at each other like that. Like, I don't wink at you. That'd be
Hmm.
fucking weird. Like, friends don't do that. That's not a friend thing. Like, people just
Hmm.
don't do that. So, like,
I get if
it's
you're,
little things like that.
and I get that like those moments were supposed to be teasing, and like they were
Yeah,
supposed to
but
be
why the
funny,
winking?
but they came across when a scene is teasing, it can be both funny and flirty is the problem.
Exactly.
And they meant it to just be funny, but it's like it had the detriment of also being flirty.
Yeah. It
And so
just
like and yeah.
more foresight required. Yeah, definitely. Um, what makes me angry more than anything about Clover's death, though, is two
Mhm.
things that don't even have to do with queer baiting. The wasted potential for his character. That I
Mhm.
feel like he's a regular Sienna Khan. They could have done so much more with him, and they didn't because he had to die. And it's
Mhm.
like it feels like a lot of wasted potential for him as character,
Mhm.
but also as a queer character.
Yeah. I mean, to slightly counter that, um, that sometimes adds to the tragedy of stories. You just don't want to kill a character. You don't always want to kill characters when they have no usefulness left to the story, because
Yeah, but
then, because like we foresaw Adam's death coming because he kind of had no further purpose in the story.
I would agree if Clover's death served a purpose, but it didn't. He died for
Well,
nothing.
but we don't know that it doesn't yet, though. That's why I can still give them the benefit of the
I don't
doubt
see
here
what
because I'm
purpose it
like,
could
they
possibly serve.
they
It
can.
felt
I mean,
pointless.
it feels pointless right now, and I they could make it feel like it developed Crow's character, and like people are already talking about how like they can't wait to see Crow wearing Clover's um charm
Why in
because
the
we saw
fuck would
that.
he do that? That's a
I
terrible
I
idea. Um,
I
it's
know
covered in his
I've
blood.
always. I mean, wash it off first. But
With
like,
what?
I mean, not right now, but like eventually he might wear the charm.
Oh
But
my
like,
god,
I've
that's
I've
awful.
always had this theory that someday like Crow could agile his tears.
Watch
Ooh.
yourself.
Um, but like, I've always had this theory that like Crow's semblance is only misfortune because he has this like feeling of being a burden and like that like because he is his endless cynicism and everything, and if he learned to be not like see himself not as a burden and all these things, and he had a more positive internal attitude, would his semblance change?
How does Clover's death serve that purpose, though?
I
If
mean,
anything, it's going to do the opposite.
I mean, but like it's again, it's rock bottom, and then he had only way to go from here is up, and
He's. I'm pissed off because to me, Clover's death felt like it was contrived and therefore comes off as utterly pointless. Like this only happened because the plot demanded it. So I'm like, and I'm also pissed off for Crow more than anyone
mm-hmm,
else. Pissed off for his character. I'm pissed off that they've put him through this after all of the wonderful development he's had this volume. For them to do this to him is cruel.
mm-hmm,
And I'm like, all I wanted for Crow was for him to have some goddamn happiness for once, and then it's ripped away from him.
mm-hmm.
And like, I'm like, how is this going to serve any other purpose than to put him right back where he was and eliminate all of the great character development he's had this volume? And I'm like, I don't see how it's going to not do that. I don't see how any other outcome is going to come from this. And I'm like, I don't see how this is going to have a positive effect on his character at all. He was distraught, and I was heartbroken for Crow.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like,
I mean, but he's not going to be heartbroken forever.
no, but this is cruel. It's cruel.
Eventually he'll heal, and he can grow again from this, like, and he'll. I mean, granted though, again, it does kind of feel like there were a lot of his things that were reinforced in this moment about like he can't have close friendships because misery follows, and
yeah, and he was saying like
that,
I'm usually proven right, and I'm like, great, that sounds like
in those aspects I agree, because I'm like this was his chance to finally have a person who he didn't feel like a burden around because it wasn't constantly bad all around him, and like it was a person who seemed to make him feel genuinely comfortable and happy, and like sure maybe they never make that they had never made that romantic, whatever, but like if to kill him does feel like it's like, well, that was like they've also kind of killed Crow's sense of happiness of ever being happy.
I'm just so mad for him, for his character. I'm like, I'm almost like, how could you do this to him? He doesn't need any more reason to loathe himself. All he's done since we've known him is loathe himself. And finally he was getting away from that sort of state of mind this volume, and I just feel like he's just going to be right back where he was. He's going to be on a war path to James, and then after that, what then? It's like, what? I'm just pissed for his character. I'm like, I just can't believe they did that to him more than anyone else.
And that's also the thing that it was the thing that bothered me a lot about this happening is and even though I've already argued that this isn't bury your gays, and I still stand by that, but like there is sort of this sense of with queer characters that like because tragedy so often follows in media that there's like this unintended message that gets told to queer people that you are destined to
Never be
be
happy.
unhappy, never
Yeah.
be happy. Like every good thing will always end. It will always end in tragedy. And like in that was the part that hit me the hardest, was because again it was such a positive, uplifting relationship. And even though it was complicated, like you know they had complicated feelings, and we were even talking I think last week about how like complicated this warrant was going to be for them, but for them to just then for it to end in death, I never saw it coming, because
No.
again it was just not how I foresaw any of it.
Mm.
Because why would it? There was the potential there, and there was
I just didn't see it as a good decision, so I didn't think that they would do it. And then it happened, and I was like, "What the fuck was that?" Like that was literally my reaction, was to be like, "What did you just do? I don't think you understand the gravity of what you've just done."
Gravity was last episode.
Shut up. That was my initial reaction, was like, they don't know the fire they've just lit under the fandom by doing that. They have no idea what's coming now.
I dreaded looking at Twitter.
Same.
Because I, especially like, I mean, my reaction is going to come out tomorrow, but like, I edited out so much silence in my reaction, because I just sat there in disbelief.
Yeah.
I was in shock and in disbelief as to what had just happened. And it wasn't even because they had killed somebody, and it wasn't like, and it wasn't affronting. It was more of like, do they realize what they've done? Like,
yeah.
And that was why I was afraid to go on Twitter, because I was like, it's gonna be a shit show, and it was.
Yeah, I remember when I was filming myself watching it, I was silent for 20 minutes afterwards, just in shock and just not able to compute what had just happened. I couldn't process it. And then after 20 minutes, I burst into tears and I stopped the recording. And I didn't say anything, but the first thing I said was like, "What have you done?" Because I was just thinking about, what have you just done to the fandom? What have you just done to Crow? What have you just done to the LGBT community? Like, do you have any idea the impact that this is going to have? And I just couldn't believe that they had done that. I just didn't want to believe it, because I was like, you had to know that this was going to be negative.
Yeah, and I already I could foresee in my mind all the comments people were going to make, and people made every single comment that I imagined, like with, you're seeing things, or you were making something out of nothing, or that was never the intention, or you
the blame is always on the LGBT community, rather than on the people who maybe didn't make the best narrative choice, the people who maybe queerbaited a bit too much. The blame is always on us, because we just see something that's not there. No, that's why it's called subtext. If it wasn't there, why were so many people seeing it? Just because you're incapable of seeing it that way doesn't mean that other people don't see it that way.
That's the part that frustrates me the most, is how dismissive people are because they don't see it. Like, it was always one of those things with Bumblebee, where I've shipped Bumblebee since Volume 1. And, like, I'm vindicated now, 6 volumes later. But, like, the amount of times, like, even you'll see, if you go back and watch early Boopcasts, you'll see I was afraid to talk about, like, shipping Bumblebee, because people would always be like, I don't see it, you're making something out of nothing. Like, all the same stuff that came up after this episode.
It didn't become
And so
apparent to me until volume 6. I was like, yeah,
mm-hmm.
they're going
and
for
that,
this, definitely.
yeah, and that was when and that was when they made it a little less subtext and a little more text.
Obvious, yeah.
mm-hmm.
But yeah, no. Regardless of whether it was just subtext or not, the fact that so many people are so upset about it tells you that something's gone terribly wrong here. If so many people saw it that way, then how is it something out of nothing? If so many people were on the same page, and so many people were theorizing about it and talking about it, and aided by the fact that certain people were posting things they shouldn't have been during the course of the volume. Should have just left that one alone and let us take it and run with it, because then we would not have anyone to point fingers at but ourselves. Whereas now we're in a tricky situation of where it has been encouraged. So therefore, when the fire is lit and people get their pitchforks out, who do they point them at? Anyone that's not themselves, who could have possibly hinted at anything or encouraged anything they were saying.
And that was why because I always, even if you watch probably some of these older Boopcasts, that like I was always cautious of Lucky Charms, because I was like, I don't trust this, because been hurt plenty of times before.
We always suspected that Clover would turn around and do this, but never did we once suspect it would end in death, and in quite the manner that it did. Never once did any of us see that coming. That was heart-wrenching when that happened. It was literally painful. It was painful because it was like, why did you do that? What purpose did that serve? Why did this happen? Like, it just too many questions about, wasted potential. Why did you make this decision? What purpose does this serve? Where is this going to leave Crow? Where is it going to leave, male LGBT rep in the show, of which there still is not any confirmed.
Scarlet doesn't count.
Scarlet doesn't count. He was on screen once in Volume 3, and they confirmed it on Twitter. It doesn't count if he's not on screen.
Well, they confirmed it in the manga.
And he's the only one. So...
yeah. But Scarlet... Yeah, exactly.
But Scarlet, shut up. And, like, I've seen so many people, too, using the excuse of, like, oh, isn't all the female rep enough for you? No, it isn't. Because it's not male rep. Like, you need... When you're talking about representation, there needs to be representation for everybody. Not just be like, oh, well, you've got some lesbians and bi women, that's enough. It's like, no. Everybody needs equal chance to be able to see themselves in the characters and relate to the characters. Everybody else deserves a chance to be told that they are normal and be represented in characters and shows that they love. Everybody else deserves a chance to have somebody to relate to. So it's like...
And just because the show's female focused doesn't mean... I mean, there are men in the show, like,
There was a bisexual woman on Twitter who was coming at me saying that I was discrediting the female rep in RWBY by being angry about Clover's death. And I was like, I am ashamed of you as a bisexual woman right now, that you can say that and believe it. It's like... You are... What is wrong with your brain? Like, literally, how can you think like that? And how can you twist somebody's words so much?
Yeah, it's just stupid with people who believe that, like, just because it's like, oh, we have the lesbian representation, but, like, oh, you also want male, gay representation, and then, but we've got trans representation. Why do you need gay representation? Like, those kind of things. And it's like, because that's the thing about representation is for everyone.
One does not discount the other.
You are pleased with the representation that you see, and I'm so happy for you. I'm genuinely so happy that you have characters that you can see yourself in. But there are people who don't.
Who don't, exactly. And it's like, so one does not discount the other. One also doesn't credit the other either. So it's like, if you have
it'd be different if we were saying... it'd be different if we were saying, well, because, and I see this too all the time, is people who being like, but I like Yang when she was into dudes because she was my waifu. So like, I just need her to be straight.
That's them being
And like
perverted though. That's perversion.
That is what I mean.
That's not relation at all.
Mm-hmm. But that's different because that's actually taking away from representation, because it's like, I don't like that character being a lesbian or that character being bi, so I'm gonna make them straight.
I just want to correct you, Brandon, in that people shit on everything that isn't the L and the G, not the L and the B. Bi-erasure is one of the biggest problems in the entire community. Bisexual people are not seen in the same way that lesbian and gay people are, because the amount of like shit I've been thrown at me since I came out as bi, of being like, you know, people do not take me seriously when it comes to LGBT views. People tell me I should make up my mind, that I'm being greedy, that I'm being selfish, that I have twice the potential, that I'm stealing men and women from other people. People have said this to me straight up, and it's
Steal
like,
those men. Steal
none
them
of
women.
this is true. And if you got off your ass for 2 seconds and educated yourself, you would realize that you're an idiot. And like, you know.
Yeah. Why else do you think so many? The biggest arguments against Bumblebee were like, but those dudes that she winked
it's
at,
called
like
bi.
It's
and
because
we exist.
People don't see that bi
Do you
could
see
be
this?
real.
This is what Blake is. This bi. She likes both. Why is that such a difficult concept to grasp?
That's also one of the biggest things about that final shot with Crow and Clover that I disliked, is it kind of harkened back to that scene in the Adam character short with like the bi colors behind Blake. Even though it wasn't quite the same thing behind Crow, it made me think of it like the like bi flag behind him sort of a situation in the lights, and it just reminded me of that. And
did your mic just cut out?
Did it?
Oh, I think it did briefly.
Oh.
But yeah,
maybe it was just I was talking too quietly. It wasn't sensitive enough.
Maybe, possibly, yeah. But yeah, it's just like Blake is bi. We can safely say that, and that's awesome. I'm happy to have a female bi person and one of the 4 main characters is so cool, and it makes me feel validated, and it gives me somebody to relate to, and gives me a sense of normalcy in Ruby. But there are too many people that don't have that in the show. And Crow and Clover was that potential that has now been erased completely. Yeah. So, you know, all of the people that
Crow
saw
can
themselves...
come out in the future.
Yeah. All the people that saw themselves in Crow and Clover now have nothing. And not
and
even
that's
just
why
that,
people
not even
upset.
just that, like, it doesn't exist anymore, or, like, they disconfirmed it. It was ripped away from them in a way that they weren't expecting and didn't see coming. So, of course, people are angry. Like, duh. Of course people are going to be mad.
Does nobody remember from the 100, Klexa? Was that the ship?
I don't watch the
I know it was a big ship, and it was a bi woman and a lesbian, and they killed off the lesbian.
Oh, I heard about this.
Thing.
Yeah.
Lesbians were pissed about
it.
Like,
I mean, yeah. That's what happens.
I mean, it just goes to show you that, like, queer people are tired of seeing queer characters killed.
Yeah.
And, like, granted, again, this is different because we had no confirmation of it. And that's why, again, I almost hope that we never get confirmation or anything. Like, part of me wants confirmation because it validates my feelings, but part of me doesn't because then it hurts more.
It hurts more, yeah. Definitely. I would like for them to confirm Crow now and just not touch Clover.
Yeah.
Just leave him.
Just
don't even touch it. Don't talk about it. Don't confirm anything. Just leave it as it is. You're just going to cause more harm by doing anything with him now. But Crow would be nice, at the very least. Don't come back to him, it's too much. Exactly. It's just going to... Yeah. It's just going to cause more conflict.
And don't retcon in any sort of like, oh, well, they went on a date or something, you know?
Yeah.
Like...
Don't fucking JK Rowling this shit. Like, don't do that.
Dumbledore gay.
Dumbledore was gay the whole time. Okay, well, where's the evidence in your text, bitch?
Yeah, exactly.
I did not say, hey, Google. Piss off, phone. What?
Hey
Why
Google,
are you
quit
Googling?
killing gay characters.
Why are you Googling subtext? Go away. The fuck?
That's funny.
Yeah,
Yeah, don't DC comic in something like that. Exactly, don't.
Yeah.
Don't. I just they just need to leave it alone.
Yeah.
Like explore stuff with Crow because he's still around, and like maybe even have Crow admit that he had feelings for Clover.
Yeah.
But don't touch Clover.
Tell us that they were reciprocated. Do not do that. Not, that will be bad.
Yeah.
You need to leave dead things
because again,
dead.
then not just only does it valid, because like I want my ship to feel validated, but the problem is though is if you validate my ship, you're also going to validate all these horrible feelings I have
anger.
About the death of the ship. So it just Rooster Teeth is not canceled. They are not homophobic. They are not bad people. They just made a mistake.
A real big one that they need to learn from, and quickly.
Yeah.
Let's not have a repeat of this. But like also the people being like, oh, you're just angry because the ship didn't happen. I'm like, this has next to nothing to do with the ship. It has a lot to do with the potential for the characters together and separate. It has a lot to do with the potential rep for the LGBT community. And the wasted potential of Clover's character, what it's gonna do, what effect it's gonna have on Crow's character, like if that's gonna be a negative effect, it's more to do with all of that. I wasn't even thinking about the ship. I was just like, what have you just done to the LGBT community? Like it's upsetting to think about. It's upsetting to think about how I felt when I watched the episode, being like.
It was hard to edit my reaction video. Like for the first couple hours after I edited my reaction video, I was like feeling all that stuff again because it was hard like remembering in that moment how sad I was.
Yeah.
And like it's difficult.
It's hard. It's a hard thing to accept, really, to come to terms with. That they made that decision and didn't think about the consequences. You know, cried for about 5 minutes. Yeah, I cried for a long time.
I was too shocked and then I just went numb, like honestly.
I was in the middle of a 24-hour stream too.
Yeah.
Oh god. Yeah, I've rewatched the entire episode once and it was just upsetting just to watch that last part. It was just so I was still so angry about it. And like as visually kind of weirdly beautiful as it was.
Yeah.
Especially with the callback to Volume 3, Chapter 11 when Yang's arm was cut off, the sort of negative color space. The black and white and the red and stuff
the
like that.
2D but not quite 2D.
The just
thing about
sheer horror of that shot.
Yeah.
Which was the same way that I felt about the shot in Chapter 11 of Volume 3. It was horrific. Just because we didn't see every gory, painstaking detail, they gave us just enough for us to be horrified. Because our brains can fill in the rest. And sometimes it's even worse what we imagine than what is actually happening. So, but like, the shots of like the blood dripping and his charm falling on the ground and like just seeing him ripped open was horrific. Like I was mortified and it was really cruel. Voice acting from Jason, my god, Jason as Crow, like he is Crow at this stage.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing. I have mixed feelings about it because again, it was incredible. But this is also the first episode in a couple episodes where, like, I was abundantly aware that it was Jason speaking. I don't know. I guess my brain just hasn't quite overridden Crow's voice yet, and so it still felt there were just certain. I don't know. There was something about it where I became aware that it was a different voice actor than than usual.
I didn't feel that
even
at
though
all.
we've had him for a whole volume.
This
I
was...
mean, I haven't felt that way for several episodes, but it was like there was something in this episode that triggered like that something to make me think back to other stuff, and I don't know what it was. But I just there was something in this episode that triggered that.
This was the chapter that cemented it for me. That like,
Mm-hmm.
this was like the point where I was like, I don't remember what Crow used to sound like before anymore.
I mean,
this was the chapter where I felt like Jason was inhabiting the character, finally.
I mean, I mostly feel the same way. There's like, if I try to think about what Crow sounded like in Volume 6, I can't really, I can kind of hear it, but I can but like not really.
I feel like if I went back and watched it now, it would sound strange.
I mean, too, but like, I don't know. It was just, there was something in this episode where I was just like, something felt off to me, and I don't really know what it was.
That's interesting.
And maybe it was just me.
I was like, this was the chapter where I was like, yep, I know Jason's Crow now. And like, it took a couple volumes for me to get used to Ren. And Ren doesn't even sound that different.
It took me no time at all to get used to Ren.
It took me a couple volumes to get used to it. But just not hearing Monty's voice in Ren was really strange for a while. But this has been not even a volume, and I'm like, yep, no, Jason's Crow. I got it. What, Vic who? What did he sound like? I don't know. But yeah, I bet if I went back and watched older volumes now, it would sound really weird to hear Crow in those volumes. And his voice acting was incredible this chapter. Jason's, he just knocked it out of the park.
Yeah. It's
not an easy thing to stand there and scream into a microphone.
Yeah.
When you can't see what's going on in the actual episode, for it to come together and be believable, and to feel the pain of the character as well and the anguish, and to feel the emotion.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was heartbreaking. But kudos to Jason. And like even the final shot when Clover's lying on the ground and Crow's looking at the sunrise. I'm like, that's beautiful, but like I was
also
too in shock to notice.
Yeah. It also, the sunrise made me realize that the events of the last 5 chapters have all been over the course of a single night.
Yeah.
Everything since the Schnee banquet has taken the course over a night. And I'm like, Jesus Christ.
What has happened in that night? But yeah, this was a lot of people have been theorizing too about like, oh well, Clover could still be alive. No,
we saw he's gone.
The light
and
left
they're not
his
going
eyes.
to use
He's
the
gone.
staff. They're not going to use the staff of creation to bring him back.
Why would they?
Why would they
feel cheap after what they just did? And like the thing is, his death felt like it had so much weight behind it, and that it was final.
I just think we have chest replacements.
And I don't think that they are going to bring characters back lightly. Like Penny, she's an android.
We all kind of suspected. People try to say Cinder coming back after Volume 5 is
she didn't
resurrection.
die though.
She didn't die though. Like everybody. You people who say that, I'm like, you are in the minority of the fandom who thought that she was dead, because literally every
if you go
person...
and watch the reactions to chapter 13, Fall, is it Fall? Yeah, Fall. If you go and watch the reactions, you will see like 2 people be surprised and everyone else be like, bye, see you next volume. Like literally that was our attitude towards it, because we were like, jeez, there's no way that
it's like Cinder. That's not the end of Cinder, because why would it?
Yeah, but they won't bring Clover back for the same reason they'll never bring Pyrrha back, and for the same reason they'll never bring Roman back, because death has to have finality. If it doesn't have finality, and their deaths
affect other characters.
It becomes like Supernatural, where like a character dies and you don't feel anything because you're like, they'll be back in 2 episodes, it's fine.
Yeah. But like Roman's death is the reason Neo is doing everything Neo's doing right. Pyrrha's death changed all of Team Ranger. Like it changed all of them.
And people are comparing this to Pyrrha's death too. I'm like, no, don't do that, first of all. Pyrrha's death served her purpose, and she put herself in that situation knowing that she was probably going to die. She chose to make that decision, to put herself there, knowing she wasn't coming back, because she chose to do that to try and stop Cinder. Because it was her last-ditch effort. She held her own, but ultimately she was killed and her death served a purpose. It served the purpose of having Ruby unlock her power. And she almost stopped Cinder. She came close. But this currently serves no purpose as far as the plot is concerned.
Yeah.
Not that we can see yet.
Yeah, I'd say, but it will.
I don't think
they'll make it. I don't know. I mean, this is another thing where we'll disagree on, because I'm like, again, because death has to mean something in these shows. I mean, and at the very least, I mean, it won't have as wide of a scale of an impact as Pyrrha's death did, but like, the death will impact the Aesops, and it will impact Crow, and it will impact James. Like,
yes, but
maybe it'll impact Robin. I don't know.
Stupid. If he wasn't so stupid, he would have lived. And it's like, you put yourself in this situation by being a dumbass and like putting yourself that's in a position where you were backed into a corner, and of course you were going to die. Not only him,
but people
but
say
Crow
the same
as well.
thing about. People say that about Pyrrha's death though too. They say, why did she bother?
Why did she bother? Because somebody had to. That's the thing. This was just like, Clover's like, no, I'm gonna follow my orders, and Crow's like, well, I'm not gonna let you do that, and then I'm gonna team up with this psycho serial killer to take you down, and he's not gonna kill you when I'm not looking.
Yeah.
That's what this felt like. Whereas Pyrrha was like, I have to do something because I have the power to do something, and then ultimately served the purpose of having Ruby discover her silver-eyed power. Whereas this just feels like some dude died in the snow because he was an idiot.
I mean, but that's how it feels right now, and that's my point is that in the future it can mean stuff in the future, like moving forward.
Brandon, I don't have enough faith in Crow's conviction to not go back to square one. I think he's so fresh out of being sober that this is going to be the thing that tips him back over.
It's going to be hard, especially if he gets arrested or something. Like,
I don't see how
substances.
This is going to have anything but a negative impact on him. Like, I don't think he's going to deal with it.
It'll have a negative impact, at least in the short term. But like, I don't think he's gonna he'll be sober again eventually. Like, and even if it comes down to, again, we talked about how we kind of almost wanted them to explore relapse.
Yes, like, but not with Clover's death. That's not relapse. That's straight back into the dark black abyss that he just crawled out of. Like, that's very extreme. Ugh. That just...
Yeah, I mean, but... I don't know. I feel like we'll have a better sense after the next episode. And, yeah, I don't know. It's just, it hurts.
It hurts. His death hurts. It feels wrong.
Yeah.
And contrived.
Again, Clover, in this... We said it earlier, like, my issue with the fight and his death mostly comes down to... He felt like he was stupid for the sake of the plot. Like, I feel like if they could have honestly still killed him in a way that would have upset me if it had just come down to, Tyrion overpowering them.
Which would
or
have been
Tyrion
realistic.
Or Tyrion getting a good blow in on, like, using his semblance to take down his, aura, and then, like, getting one good hit in. Like, they could have still killed him in a way that wouldn't have hurt so bad that it did, and it didn't feel like a weirdly out of character, just dumb thing to do.
Why did this happen? Yeah. The way that it did. I wonder too about the fate of Crow's weapon now, because if I was Crow, I'd be a little apprehensive towards Harbinger after what just happened.
I mean, we kind of felt that way about Gamble Shroud, though, and she's still using Gamble Shroud.
because Adam was a
I know.
bad dude. Clover was Crow's friend.
But still, Blake killed somebody with it. You know,
Sorry?
it clearly affected her.
Yeah, but like
So
that was Adam. Don't compare Clover to Adam. It's not the same thing.
I'm not comparing their deaths in that way. I'm just saying like in that like the weapon used to kill them, like Blake still wields hers.
Yeah, I mean,
You know,
for her it's
he'll use it out of necessity,
for her
and maybe
it's
he'll make some
symbolic
alteration.
of a huge obstacle that she's overcome in her story. Which is what Adam became to her at the end. Even though he was somebody she once cared about and felt distraught about over his death, it was necessary. She didn't have another choice. She knew she had to do it, and it's symbolic for her of overcoming that struggle. This is some psycho used his weapon to kill his friend. That's traumatic, and like that's symbolism of him throwing the bloodied harbinger into the snow. I'm like, ugh, I wouldn't want to use that again after that happened. So I wonder about the.
I mean, I think he's gonna kill Ironwood with it.
Oh, absolutely. But after that, it's a question of whether he continues to use it. Yeah,
I mean,
it's all bad.
Know,
I hate it.
I feel
hate
like
all of this.
Out of necessity, he'll have to.
I hate it.
But yeah,
I hate this whole situation. I haven't gotten less annoyed about it as time's gone on. I'm less irate than I was, but I'm still angry. I will always be angry about it. I'll always think it was the wrong decision, and that it was handled poorly. And that's all there is to it, really.
It'll just be a dark stain on Ruby Volume 7.
Yeah.
Because everything else about Volume 7 has been great.
Yeah.
It's just this will be the thing that when we look to ranking seasons, this will be the event we look back on and go like,
yeah.
And it'll move down the list.
This will be the horrible bad dream that we'll all want to forget ever happened.
And not in the good way, not in the like pure way where like serve, you know, that was.
You ever watch something happen in a show and you can't believe that it's canon? Because it feels like almost like fan fiction. That's what this was for me. I was like, this feels like some twisted other version of the show that they wrote for their own sick pleasure. And it's actually canon. And I was like, I can't believe that that's canon. I just can't believe that.
I mean, we were predicting something horrible because, again, like, they needed...
We did not predict that.
Bad things to happen. But again, like we both said, this was never where I thought bad things were going to happen. No. I foresaw bad things happening with the Aesops or with the Winter Maiden.
With Blake and
I never foresaw a bad thing, you know, Clover dying. Because I always assumed, I was like, they're adults. They'll be adults about this.
Yeah, no. As we've seen time and time again, Team Ruby more mature than all of the adults in the show.
Or, I mean, even if not be adults, that like this, I never foresaw a way that this could possibly end in Clover's death.
No, I didn't either.
Like, but yeah.
It just hurts. It's never going to feel right. It's always going to feel like, I can't believe that that's canon and that they actually did that. But not in a good way. Like, it's never going to feel good. It's always going to suck. And, like, I'm always going to wish that it wasn't real. But unfortunately it is. So, we should probably wrap this up because Connor and Brendan's
we've been going for 3 hours, and I feel like we're kind of talking in circles.
We are, because, like, what other way is there to talk about? It just sucks.
Yeah, it just sucks. But no, neither of us are not watching Ruby anymore. We're not boycotting the show.
The only other time where I've felt like wanting to boycott the show was when they maimed Weiss. But then I was also like, I need to make sure that she's going to live.
Yeah.
Because she's obviously going to. But, like, I was really upset.
Again, like, we want the show to do... Like, this is a show where, you know... We want the show to have stakes. Like, that's a big thing people have issues with the show, is that...
It doesn't have stakes.
It sometimes have stakes. Yeah. So it's like, having, you know, like... sometimes you need someone to die to like remind you that hey, people can die, but like this just felt weird.
This felt wrong.
This felt wrong
on a lot of levels. Yeah,
have
predictions.
Well,
oh god, I have no idea.
I mentioned partly about like Penny dying to Cinder and Pietro's around, so
no,
Pietro
they can't
could
do that. They've already ripped our hearts
sacrifice.
out enough.
Pietro could sacrifice himself for her, or she could become the Winter Maiden. I foresee Winter becoming the Winter Maiden.
If they kill Penny in the finale, I might turn it off. Like, I might just stop the episode and refuse to keep watching.
But Penny can come back.
Yeah,
and
but
like
at what cost?
I feel like
also,
at Pietro's
don't
cost.
do
like,
that
that's
to
the
me
cost.
after what you just did with Clover. You cannot do that to me.
I just think that like that line that Pietro said about basically he can't do it again, like he'd die if he did it again or whatever the line. Foreshadowing.
Yeah, but
I feel like that might be false foreshadowing, and that's why I'm like, they want us to like we're gonna see her die, and we're gonna be like Pietro save her, and then they're gonna be like, oh, just kidding, Winter Maiden.
Penny, after what they just did to my heart last chapter, I will stop watching the episode and refuse to keep watching. I'm not doing that.
That is more of my outlandish theory about what's happening, and I think the simplest answer is just like, especially also with the thumbnail appearing to be Freya, I would kind of like, is Freya gonna fight, and then like, potentially at least keep Cinder out, keep Cinder at bay or whatever, and then overexert herself, and Winter becomes the Winter Maiden. Because like I feel like Winter needs to become the Winter Maiden if we are eventually going to have the 4 girls as maidens thing come true, where like we've already got I almost said Summer and Yang, Raven and Yang, and then we'd have Winter and Weiss, and then we just need to basically set up Blake, but whatever.
Whatever. Yeah. I have no predictions because I know what I want, and I'm not going to get anything that I want in the time frame that we have left. So.
And the final shot will be the flying monkey.
Yep. That's basically
that'll happen.
Sam's gonna rock up at the end. Don't know what the post-credit scene will be. Probably something irrelevant.
Neo's fight is gonna be awesome.
Oh yeah, obviously.
But I don't think she's gonna die, and I don't think she's gonna kill anybody.
I don't know how that fight's gonna go. I don't want to think about any of the fights in chapter 12 because they stress me out.
I've also seen people have the theory that like I also think, and granted though, I don't know if they'd have enough time to do this. It would be interesting if they had like Blake and Yang end up in Mantle, and then Weiss and Ruby in Atlas.
Oh yeah, I still think that they're gonna get split up.
And then James's plan works, and he lifts Atlas into the sky.
I don't think that's gonna happen in chapter 13.
I mean, I feel like it could be a very interesting way to end the volume.
Way too quick.
It would be. I'd like that thing is I'm like it happened really quickly, but it'd be an interesting way to like separate the girls in a way.
Also, like if he does that, then what? Can they bring it back down? Like. I
mean, yeah. Then it would become about like, especially like if Winter is the maiden at that point. Like it would. Like I just always have this like this vision of like them like in Atlas's underbelly, like having to like form a resistance to take down the dictator James and.
Especially considering like they've evacuated
convincing Winter
Mantle,
to help them.
They've evacuated Mantle to Atlas, so it wouldn't be that hard to incite rebellion.
Yeah.
With all of Mantle in there, or at least most of it.
Yeah, some of it.
Some of it. Whatever they've managed to save. Especially if they are abandoning the rest of Mantle. The Mantle citizens they have saved are not going to sit by and let that happen. So James is once again not using his brain, or his heart, or any of his vital organs, apparently. But yeah.
But I also, I mean, I'll get into these next episode, but I have hopes for Volume 8 with like, I want to see more Schnee Dust Company stuff, and I want to actually see some stuff about Faunus rights, because we're in fucking Atlas, and we got none of that this volume.
Nothing.
And I'm pissed off about that.
Yep.
But yeah. I don't know. They can kind of do anything at this point. I just am like, I just hope that Winter ends up with the Winter Maiden powers and that Cinder doesn't.
I just need Cory to kick the shit out of James. Fucking kill him. He's dead to me. James Ironwood is dead to me. He is cancelled. I want him gone.
I know.
Wipe him off the face of the earth.
Because I liked him too, but like after this, I'm like, I don't know, guy. I don't think I can come back from this.
After leaving what's ambiguous, after what happens to Clover, I'm pinning this all on James. And I'm like, you need to go. You are done. Damn it, Jimmy Boy saw his shit out. He's not gonna. Nah, he's done. He's dead to me. Yeah. Goodbye. No redemption for you. Time to die. But we're not gonna get that payoff.
Yeah.
This volume. It's not gonna
happen. I foresee feeling unsatisfied with the next episode too.
Yep. I'll be surprised if I'm not, to be honest.
Yeah, it just. I think that there's a way they could make it feel satisfying while still ending it on a cliffhanger, but like
cliffhangers will never feel satisfying though. That's why they're called cliffhangers. The edge of your seat, and it just ends, and then we have to wait 8 months to find out what the fuck happens.
But they could wrap up like enough stuff, and like just have it be like, oh no, the monkeys are here, and like have that be the cliffhanger. In a way where it makes me go, oh dang, like I want to see that, but like not like if if other things that are happening right now weren't resolved, then it might be like, well, but this and this all happened, so why didn't we get to see how it paid off? Like Oscar's semblance. That's the other thing I predict. Oscar will unlock his semblance.
Oh,
which would be cool.
I don't think so, but
I mean, there was that foreshadowing earlier this volume that. There's a lot of foreshadowing earlier this volume that seems to have come to nothing.
A long time to pay things off.
Yeah.
So I'm not optimistic about that, but anywho, we're going to go raid the Corner of Remnant, and I suppose I'll have to render this fucking thing.
Yeah.
What fun for me, especially with my computer the way that it is at the moment. We'll see how that goes. But we're going to go raid them. And thank you guys for watching if you're still here. We will be back next week, most likely Sunday instead of Saturday, with Alex Abraham. He's going to chat about score for the volume. It'll be a nice long one. Alex likes to talk, so we'll be chatting about that for a while. We'll talk about, obviously the finale, the volume so far, thoughts, predictions for next year. Things like that once we know how they're wrapping this one up. So we will be back next week with that. But thank you everybody for watching and your support, listening to us ramble. And we'll see you next week. Bye!
Bye!